the Rice Institute, we have the Rubber Institute, we have the Trypanosomiasis Institute that took care of the livestock situation. The current day situation is that the GDP contribution of agriculture to our economy has dropped from the very appealing 90% to about 40%. And of this 40%, about 85% is contributed by agriculture still, about 10% by livestock, and about the remaining by forestry and fishery. So what we're trying to do is to optimize this effort of government to make sure that we reawaken agriculture in this country. The shea butter, which is the shea tree, does very well in Nigeria. In fact, it goes very well in 21 states of the 36 states of this nation, because there is an enabling arable land and the weather conditions in those areas are very conducive for shea trees. And we all know that shea butter production is very important, and a lot of us use shea butter. And we also are aware that when you go outside this country, Nigerian shea butter is repackaged in Ghana and exported. There is a huge potential. Records have it that about 53% of the export of shea butter is actually from Nigeria. It goes to Asia, it goes to the United States and other parts of the world. And it's being used in the pharmaceutical industry, it's being used in the cosmetic industry. So this is not, we're not optimizing this possibility, because shea butter, we have the capacity to export about 500,000 metric tons of shea butter. And how can we best achieve it? By, rather than having an amendment to this Research Institute bill, where shea butter will be included in the bill, and the establishment of the institute will carry out efficient research, so that the shea butter tree that currently grows over a period of 15 to 20 years before the nuts come out, the research can make sure that we have improved varieties that will be short-spanned and they come to fruit early, so that these nuts can be gotten early and we can benefit. We can also make sure that the processing, which is a little bit not organized and is not up to global standard right now, we can make sure that the processing of shea butter is brought to global standard status, so that we can compete favorably, rather than people buying our shea butter in bulk and repackaging in neighboring countries to sell as their export. We can export our shea butter and meet the European standards and American standards of import of shea butter. We're in a situation where we don't have a choice but to develop our agriculture and other sectors of the economy to take us from this mono-economic situation to a diverse economy. So this is like a situation waiting to be optimized. So these amendments will provide the institutional platform for us to develop shea butter as a nation and optimize the economic potentials therein. The bill is divided into 6 sessions, which basically seek to include shea butter in the long title, section 1 and 3, as well as the first schedule provisions relating to labeling the institute in the Principal Act. The highlights of the bill. The highlights of the bill include establishing the Shea Butter Research Institute with the mandate to ensure genetic improvement, production, and processing of the various products associated with shea butter produced in Nigeria. Secondly, given the anticipated expansion of the industry in Nigeria, coupled with the potential to mechanically process and export 500,000 metric tons annually, there is no doubt that the economy around shea butter is huge, especially in the cosmetic and pharmaceutical industry in Asia and Europe. In conclusion, honorable colleagues, the efforts required to drive the Nigerian economy out of our present situation ought to be an all-encompassing approach. It is for this reason that I seek that the House considers and support my proposal to amend the Nigerian Research Institute Act Cap N132 LFN 2004 to include the establishment of the Shea Butter Research Institute. Thank you, my colleagues. I count on your support for this amendment. Thank you.
Honorable Hassan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleagues, I'm Hassan Saleh. I represent the people of Ado, Ogbadibo, Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I'm from Benue. Mr. Speaker, I rise to support this bill that has been well packaged by Honorable Kanike. Mr. Speaker, like he has put it, Nigeria is the largest producer of shea nuts in the world. As a matter of fact, our annual output of shea nuts is put at about 1 million tons per annum. Out of this 1 million tons per annum, Mr. Speaker, honorable colleagues, over 50% of that go to waste. And the balance 50%, 90% of that is also smuggled to neighboring countries where they are processed into shea butter. What we have left, what our local women or the women in the rural area do is to pick up the leftovers, process it into our own local shea butter for local consumption. Now, this bill seeks to set up a research center that will further improve the genetics as well as ensure that, the quality of whatever we are going to be processing will move up from where it is today. It will interest Mr. Speaker and our colleagues to note that the shea butter that we produce in Nigeria does not meet the export standards of butter that is needed in the European Union as well as in America. Because it is the EU and America that are the major consumers of this product. Because of the way our local women handle shea butter, it is always infected with contaminated by what they call aflatoxin, which is harmful to the human body. So if we have a research center that will come up with genetics of shea nuts that will meet certain quality, it will go a long way in helping that industry. Mr. Speaker, you want to know that the volume of shea nut we produce in this country is worth about $200 million annually. And over 90% is taken to Benin and Ghana for processing. We have only one major processing plant in Nigeria, and they cannot process more than 30,000 tons a year. So when we have this kind of institution, people become aware that there is money to be made in that sector. The country is better off. I think it will go a long way in helping our agri exports and also helping our rural women. So I want to crave the indulgence of this House to please support this bill to pass for the second reading so that that sector, in any case, we have research centers like the Nigerian Cocoa Research as well as the yam tubers and other agricultural research institutions. So if we decide to set this up, it will do well. It will go a long way in helping the agricultural sector. So I so submit, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shehu Shagari Aminu.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Aminu Shehu Shagari. I represent Tiabo Shagari constituency in Sokoto State. Let me start by saying I have a lot of respect for the sponsor of this bill, Dr. Kanike, but I find it very necessary to oppose this bill for the simple reason that I identify with the intendment of the sponsor of this bill, which is to have an institute that will look into the production of shea butter and to help realize the economic potential of this commodity. But I am constrained to think of the financial implication of the establishment of this institute. When looking at the fact that we have agricultural research institutes that could as well perform this function by just dedicating a department to take care of this venture. And I think if you look at when we came on board, sir, we said we were going to look into reduction of cost of governance. And that is, of course, to make sure that we don't have proliferation of agencies and MDAs. So what I'm saying in a nutshell is that this could be done by a research institute already existing that can open a department to take care of this. I don't see the necessity of having a whole institute just take care of research in shea butter. That's my humble view on this. And I urge the sponsor of this bill to have a rethink and step down the bill for further consultations. Thank you.
Any more contribution? Okay. Chairman, Agricultural Production Services.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, my name is Mohamed Tahir Monguno. I represent Marte Monguno Nganzai, Federal Constituency of Borno State. Mr. Speaker, honorable members, as rightly argued by the sponsor of this bill, shea butter contributes a lot to the agricultural economy of this country, and also it generates a lot of employment for our teeming constituents in the rural areas. And I also concur with him that there is no research institute that is specifically dedicated or given the mandate of conducting research on shea butter. But I know that there is a research institute that has a subsidiary mandate of conducting research on shea butter. But that notwithstanding, because of the importance of shea butter and its contribution to our economy and the amount of employment that it generates, there is need to amend the Agricultural Research Institutes Act with a view to creating a research institute that will be specifically dedicated for the purpose of conducting research on shea butter. Thank you. I support the second reading of this bill. Bye.
Honorable Dr. M.S. Abdu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Certainly, I'm Honorable Muhammad Sani Abdu, Al-Kalerikir Federal Constituency. I'm from Bauchi State. Sir, I heard what the proponent of the bill has said and his supporters, and I have heard also what Right Honorable Shagari has said. And I'm just trying to bring a middle course to it. Honestly, in Nigeria now that our budgetary provision is so fickle, so small, and we are competing and we cannot fund it properly, multiplicity of institutions is not welcome. Since we already have an existing research institute, I think what we need is to have internal restructuring so that the department can work properly. Otherwise, if it is necessary, we have sunflower, we have all other important things that internationally in the vegetable oil market, they are contributing to the GDP just like the shea butter. I think at worst is to create what we call Vegetable Oils Research Institute, in which case there will be Sunflower Oils Research Institute, there will be Sesame Research Institute, there will be this, including the shea butter. And then you can now have one in charge of about 10 departments. But to have a single product institute, at the end we will have about 1,000 institutes, and I don't think is right. And therefore, if it were a motion, I would have given an amendment. But this is a bill, and I don't think it is auspicious to pass a one product, one institute. I don't think it's auspicious, sir. That's the truth, especially looking at our economy. More so that the bill has not been able to tell us how many percent of the GDP is the contribution. I'm not saying shea butter is not important, but what is the contribution to the GDP? That it will also gulp part of our this thing. Let's be sincere and honest and tell ourselves true. We cannot do one product, one institute. It's not right. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Honorable Shegun Adebumi.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Honorable colleague, Odebomi Shegun is my name. I represent the good people of Surulere Ogulua Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, I rise up to support and give commendation to the mover of this bill. And if I will be correct, the mover of the bill is seeking for the amendment to add the responsibility of those who are shadowed with the responsibility before to take over, to add this, the responsibility of the shea butter.
Research Institute in India, just like what the mover of this bill is trying to achieve. But it is structured in such a way that most of the important products or crops which they add value locally and internationally, they are given priority under that research system and taken up by private sector to make sure that they achieve what we want to achieve in terms of GDP and national growth. And then also to make sure that the system in research, that we have people that have a sort of machineries, construction of machinery that repeat some of these products locally. So we have to look at the research system and the ARC and see where we can bring them together. Not only one product. Like the cocoa, we already have the research. And we produce the best. That Cocoa Research Institute has the best formula for chocolate, but nobody has taken it up. So we have a problem within the system. So we have to look at it holistically so that we address it. Shea butter, as I'm talking to you, Mr. Speaker, I used shea butter this morning as my oil. And it's very good, very important. And one of the best products in terms of it has many medicinal values. So I think, I don't know what the mover will do now, whether to look at it and see whether we can look at the whole system of our agri research system and look at, we have ginger, we have many things. Sesame, as my colleague has said. There are a lot of products in this country that are of international and local importance. So let us look at them and put them under our research system, if the need be. Thank you.
Honorable TJ Yusuf.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My dear colleagues, I'm TJ Yusuf. I assume that the information I have is not what my colleagues have. We are on a bill for an act, number 3, to amend the Nigeria Research Institute Act, to amend an existing law. It's to amend, not a new bill, if I get it. So, if we are amending, I am not saying that what we should be thinking of is not killing this, that we should say, okay, we should not create an institute. However, the existing institute should take the responsibility of creating a unit for shea butter. I like myself with the submission of my last colleague on the fact that he used shea butter. That's what I use. That's what my whole family use. Mr. Speaker, the intention of this bill, my dear colleagues, is to up the game and bring shea butter to more prominence. So I would suggest that since it's an amendment of an act, that we can still go ahead and pass the second reading of this bill, while at the constitution, at the public hearing and constitution, we can amend whatever we want to amend. Dot the I, cross the T. But killing it at this level will make us lose the privilege of adding value to that part. So I'm appealing that that those positions canvassed are valid. However, it can be cured at the committee level. That's my appeal.
Honorable Fake.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. My name is Femi Fake from Ifedayo, Bolwadro and Ila Federal Constituency. I'm from the state of Osun. I like to make a contribution to this important bill. First of all, as an agric assistant, later an agric officer, then later an agric officer in the banking system. I also spent quite some time in the research institutes before I got into banking. I worked at Robert Research Institute in Benin, and then National Horticultural Research Institute in Ibadan. I aligned myself with the chairman of Agric Services. We don't need a new research institute. The ones that are there now, basically, we're just paying overhead to the staff. Most of them don't even have money to do scheduled research. So we just pay salary overhead for the sake of, well, they have these jobs, you have to maintain their jobs. This thing we are trying to do, we can achieve very simple. Amend the ARCN Act. What is ARCN? Agric Research Council of Nigeria, which is the umbrella body that controls all the research institutes. Oh, we need some light focused on shea butter. Mr. DG, ARCN, find a way to add it to the mandate of the appropriate research institute. Rather than open a brand new research institute, director here and all that, we don't have money right now. So I also finance a lot of shea butter investment in banking. So we don't need it. It's a very important crop, but we don't need to open a brand new balance sheet into which we're going to be debiting money that is not available. I suggest that this person withdraw this and bring back an amendment to the ARCN, and you will achieve the same thing. Thank you very much.
Honorable Mike Prince.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My name is Mike Adeni Omogben. I represent the people of Okitipupa, Yorule Federal Constituency. I'm from Ondo State. Mr. Speaker, I want to add my voice to support this important amendment as put before us today by my good friend, Dr. Karinke. It's very important, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we first understand the produce we are talking about. We should appreciate that shea nut, from where shea butter is produced, is a gift to this country by God. It is one of the numerous untapped resources that God has placed at the disposal of this country, scattered across 21 states. You can find shea nuts in Oyo State, shea nuts in Osun, shea nuts in Kwara, in Kogi, and across up to Abuja here. And our parents, our forefathers have been using this with crude technology. The foreigners, particularly the Indians, the Asians, have been coming to this country to take away this product unprocessed. No value is added. They take it away. Our neighboring country of Ghana and Cameroon here come here to take this product. They process it for export. Mr. Speaker, you will recall that cocoa at the initial stage takes up to 5-7 years before it can be harvested. But today we have cocoa, the brand of cocoa that can be harvested after 3 years. What happened? It was because there were research activities that will improve how this cocoa from the seedings to other level can be produced. I think that is what we are seeking to amend by saying that let us have an institute that will look into this God gift, and their work will include to reduce the life or the yielding life from 15 years, because for between the time it is germinated and the time it begins to yield, it takes 15 years to be able to bring it back. From doing thorough research, we'll be able to reduce it from 15 to maybe 5, 7. And then it will also be responsible for creating and doing research into local machineries on how these products can be processed to add to our GDP. Mr. Speaker, it will interest you that after many, many years of exportation of shea nuts from this country, as of today, we cannot boast of one solid industry that is processing it. There is one ongoing industry, Mr. Speaker, as we talk, in Ilorin, up to today have not been completed because there is no support, there is no people to actually have the understanding of what God has given to us. Another one is called the Land Group Industry, somewhere in Ogun State. They have been lying fallow. I believe that with the establishment of this institute, this God gift will be brought to prominence in Nigeria, and then we will be able to begin to yield and create employment to yield foreign reserve from it. This is my contribution, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Speaker.
Well, I think all speakers agreed to the fact that we should have some form of research on shea butter. The only difference of opinion is whether it should be undertaken by a separate institute established for that purpose, or it should be collocated within an existing institute. That's the only difference. So, Chairman, Agricultural Production and Services, your last word on this.
Mr. Speaker, honorable members, in the course of my earlier submission, I said that shea butter, there is a research institute that is dedicated to conduct research on shea butter, but not specifically mandated, like a subsidiary mandate. For example, we have cocoa research, we have Rubber Research Institute. It is called Rubber Research Institute, but it has mandate to also conduct research on gum arabic. But it is called Rubber Research Institute, but it has mandate to conduct research on gum arabic and also date. So, with regard to shea butter, is also the same way. We have a research institute that has the mandate to conduct research on it, but it is not named Shea Butter Research Institute. So, what I am saying is that in view of the importance of shea butter, the employment that it creates, and the foreign exchange earnings that we generate, there is a need for us to have a research institute that is specifically named for the purpose of conducting research on shea butter with a view to maximizing the potentials of the country with regard to shea butter production. Just like we have Lecture Research Institute is dedicated, it has the mandate of conducting research on wheat and millet. And then when you go to Palm Oil Research Institute, it has a mandate to conduct research on palm oil. So when you go to Umudike, we have, it has a mandate to conduct research on tubers. So it is because of the importance that the country places on these crops and the potentials that we have in these crops that a research institute was specifically dedicated to conduct research on these crops. So, mutatis mutandis, I want to urge this House to also create a research institute that will be specifically dedicated for the purpose of conducting research on shea butter because of the potentials we have in this country with regard to shea butter production. Thank you.
Honorable Kanike, last word. Honorable Munir, you have already spoken. You can't speak on the same subject matter twice.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate my colleagues for their opinions on this subject matter. I quickly just want to say one or two things to be able to sway opinions. The first important thing is that, like some of my colleagues said, shea butter has been like a nature's gift to Nigeria, and that we have not really looked at it as, a potential. So now, it is true that, like the chairman said from his point of knowledge, there is a subsidiary attention that is being given to shea butter. But the question must be asked, where has that subsidiary attention gotten us to? I don't think we should be shy of a little bit of, I'm very conscious of the fact that we have, problem with resources, and we should not just create new lines of expenditure. But if we have a lot to benefit, one, deforestation has caught up with the natural shea butter trees. A lot of them have been gone down, and they have gone into charcoal production. We don't have them again. That is number one. Number two, we have a ₦1 trillion possibility of exports. We're looking for foreign revenue. If we can bring down from 15 years to about 5 years in research, and we pay attention, and seedlings are cultivated and distributed, we are talking about agriculture. Are we just paying lip service to agriculture, or we are looking at agriculture as an economic earner? So where do we start from? We have to start from the low-hanging fruits. This is in natural abundance. We have an experience. We know that there's a demand, and people come and take it from here and take it somewhere else to the benefit of those countries. So why should we be this shy to take an extra effort to pay more attention and more research to it? So I plead with my colleagues that I'm not unconscious or irresponsible about the fact that it's going to mean a little bit more of expenditure. We can look at how to even make sure that our agencies are not just busy areas where we are spending money and we are not getting value. It's a general problem we have as a nation. I agree with the fact that we must look at that. But I don't think we should, because of shea butter, I looked at other products, and I know +1 trillion every year. Thank you.
Okay, I'll put the question so that we can move on. And the question will be now read the second time. Those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Those against it say nay. The ayes have it. Clerks invited to read the long title of the bill.
Honorable Speaker, honorable members, a bill for an act of the Nigerian Research Institutes Act, M123, laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, to include the establishment of the Shea Butter Research Institute and for related matters. Second reading.
Bill is referred to Committee on Science and Technology. I thought it's agriculture, clerk. Is science and technology?
Mr. Speaker, he should go to agri-institutions.
Bill is referred to Committee on Agricultural Institutions and Services. Fourth order of the day, honorable colleagues, commencement of debate on the general principles of Bill for an Act to amend the Police Chapter P19, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Police Regulation 1968, respectively, to prevent continued infraction of Section 42 of the Constitution of the Republic of Nigeria 1999 as amended by the requirement of female police officers to request prior permission of the commissioners of police before undertaking marriage and for related matters. Stand in the name of Honorable Eko Ewa. As we recall, the bill was read the first time on Tuesday, 28th.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, my name is Honorable Basi Eko Ewa. I represent the people of Abi and Anyake Federal Constituency, and I am from Cross River State. Mr. Speaker, I stand to move that the bill for an act to amend the Police Act, Cap P19, Laws of the Federation of Nigeria 2004, and the Police Regulations
1960, irrespectively, to prevent continued infraction of Section 42 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, by the requirement of female police officers to request prior permission of their Commissioner of Police before undertaking marriage, and for related matters, HB 1233, be read the second time.
Female member will second. Honorable Nena, Chairman Foreign Affairs.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for yielding the floor to me. My name is Nena Elendru KJ, member representing Bende Federal Constituency. Mr. Speaker, sir, I rise to second the motion as moved by Honorable Basi Ewa. I so second.
Honorable Basi may now lead the debate.
Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, again, my name is Basi Ewa. I'm from Cross River State. Mr. Speaker, with great pleasure, I am standing here to lead the debate on a bill to seek to amend Section 23, Section 124, and Section 149 of the Police Act of 1943 and the Police Regulations Act of 1968, respectively, to prevent its continuous infraction of Section 42 and, of course, Section 315 of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended. Mr. Speaker, Section 42 talks about discrimination based on sex, religion, or place of birth, etc., while Section 315 of the Constitution talks about existing laws. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, marriage is controlled either by the church, both the Islam and Christianity. And in Christianity, we have procedures and ways how whoever wants to get married can seek for consent, parental consent. And the Matrimonial Causes Act clearly provides how consent can be obtained. And of course, the age limit within which parental consent is even a prerequisite is when you are within 21 years of age as a female. But Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, the Police Act clearly provides that for a police officer who is a female officer that wants to marry must first seek the consent of the Commissioner of Police for her to go into that contract, which of course is an infraction of her fundamental right. My dear colleagues, the Act in Section 124 requires a female police officer to seek and obtain the permission of the Commissioner of Police and or the IGP for his consent before attempting to exercise our fundamental human rights of going into marriage. Mr. Speaker, Section 1, Section 13 of the 1999 Constitution clearly provides that any law that is in violation of or is inconsistent with any provision of the Constitution is void ab initio and should be so declared as illegal and unconstitutional. Mr. Speaker, my colleagues, the Federal High Court, sitting in Lagos in 2012, declared Section 124 of the Police Act of 1968 illegal as it violates Section 42 and Section 315 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. It is therefore our responsibility, my colleagues, as lawmakers, to amend this section in line with our laws. By separation of powers, the courts of law are not permitted to enact or amend the law. Their duty is only to interpret the legislation as passed by the Parliament, as it has been done in the instant case under review. Mr. Speaker, is the case of Women Empowerment and Legal Aid Initiative and Attorney General of Lagos State and the IGP This matter was delivered in 2012 by my Lord, Honorable Justice Jonah Ada. Mr. Speaker and my dear colleagues, it is equally very imperative to amend Section 23 of the Act, which allows a police officer to go on transfer from his station to a new station when he or she is a witness or an investigating officer or a prosecuting officer in a pending case or matter before the court of law. We propose that it will not help in a situation where a matter is in court and it is the police officer who carried out the investigation, or he has already started the prosecution of the matter in court, to be transferred out of his station. That will help to delay prosecution of cases that are before court. The purpose of this proposed amendment is to prevent the undue delay in the prosecution of cases due to the transfer of investigating prosecuting officers, considering that the fight against corruption is one of the policy thrusts of our administration. It is necessary to support this fight by strengthening existing laws and enacting legislations that will encourage a speedy and uninterrupted prosecution of cases. We must be conscious of the fact that major indices for measuring the success of the fight against corruption is on the effectiveness with which our laws, legislations are drafted, enacted and enforced swiftly. Mr. Speaker, we equally intend to amend Section 124 of the Police Act that deals with special promotion. The way the section is presently drafted creates room for either the IGP or the police commission to carry out promotions of junior officers that seems to head their senior officers, and it's affecting the career of some police officers. Mr. Speaker, I have few examples to give. The former Commissioner of Police in Adamawa State was in active policing for just 2 years, Mr. Speaker, after his training as the police academy. He left the academy in 1996, posted to Benue State where he did his 1-year attachment, and later posted to State CID from 1997 to 1999, before he was appointed ADC to the former President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He served in this capacity till 2017, by which time he was promoted unjustly to the rank of Commissioner of Police. Mr. Speaker, while most of his course-mates are still Chief Superintendents of Police, he is now in the Institute of Policy and Strategic Studies, meant for senior officers, who joined the police force in 1986, whereas he is a 1994 cadre. Mr. Speaker, another very interesting example is that of the Commissioner of Police, Lagos State. He was given the action appointment barely 4 months after his promotion to the substantive rank of Deputy Commissioner of Police. He now superintends over his seniors. All other senior officers working under him were hitherto his seniors, now serving in the capacity of Deputy Commissioner of Police. My dear colleagues, the Police Act provides that an officer's promotion shall be premised on the following grounds: seniority, vacancy, and performance. Therefore, the amendment sought is to allow the Act, as it concerns police officers' promotion, to follow strictly the aforementioned criteria, as special promotion affects not only the psyche of other police officers, but also negatively impacts productivity in the Nigerian police force. Mr. Speaker and my distinguished colleagues, the need for professionalism and merit as a criteria for promotion within the Nigerian police is very imperative at this moment. Considering the fact that recently in November last year, just last year, the Nigerian police was ranked the most unprofessional in the world, and of course as the most corrupt police in the world. My dear colleagues, I seek to amend also the regulations to allow female police officers who are married to be allowed to seek posting to where their spouse or spouses reside. It is a tried fact that women are the home builders in every society, and as such, being in the police force should not deprive them the opportunity to so do. My colleagues, an unconfirmed percentage of women police who are separated or divorced due to incessant transfers is put at roughly 75%. While the Act in one vein provides that a female police officer must apply and get the consent and or permission of the Inspector General of Police to get married. My dear colleagues, in another vein, it provides that a female police officer shall be posted as if they are not married. What a contradiction. Mr. Speaker, we equally intend to move to amend that rank and file police officers should not be transferred immediately after their training of 6 months out of their areas, their catchment areas. For example, if you're from Cross River State, or you're from Akwa Ibom State, or you're from Ekiti State, and you just finished your training as a rank and file, they are called constables, and you are transferred to Sokoto or Borno, Mr. Speaker, in some cases, these are those who have never traveled out of their states or out of, in fact, their local government areas, and they are sent to go just for their first assignment to go and work in Sokoto or Borno State. They don't understand Hausa. They don't understand Kanuri. It will make it very, very difficult for them to carry out, their functions as junior police officers, which roles is purely investigation, arrest, investigation, and might be trial of case reports before their senior officers. That is the reason why, my dear colleagues, we propose that for junior rank and file officers should be deployed within their catchment area or their zoopolitical zones. Mr. Speaker, my dear colleagues, I call on you to support this amendment to pass the second reading. Permit me to add that all amendments sought are geared towards ensuring total eradication of obnoxious practices encapsulated in the Police Act of 1943. I urge you, please, to kindly support for this amendment to pass to second reading. Thank you very much.
Sorry, Honorable Bassi, which organization were you quoting as assessing the Nigerian police to be the most incompetent and corrupt? That's the part that I found very alarming.
Mr. Speaker, it's a statement made in a seminar organized, and some Nigerian police officers were invited to attend that seminar in the Great Britain. I have a copy of that report, Mr. Speaker.
Okay, it's good we see it. Chairman Foreign Relations Committee. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, sir, for yielding the floor to me to lend my voice to this very important bill. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I must thank...
Well, this is what we call it a day, today's live broadcast of the plenary of the House of Representatives. So far, the House has passed 2 bills for third reading, and this includes a bill that seeks to extend the implementation of the 2017 budget of the Federal Capital Territory to the 31st of March 2018. Well, the House also passed for third reading the Petroleum Industry Governance Bill, which is one of the 4 bills in the Petroleum Industry Bill. The House has also passed for second reading a bill that seeks to establish an institute for the production of shea butter in Nigeria. And at the moment, the House is still considering a bill that seeks to amend the Police Act. Well, at the end of the day, we'll bring to you an update of what has transpired on the floor of the House of Representatives. And now we'll hand you over to our studios for the continuation of the scheduled program for the day. I am Ignatius Nko, and on behalf of the Outside Broadcast crew, I say bye for now.
Nobel Prize winner, a soccer champion, a giant of literature, a musical icon. My roots lie in the dusty Sahel of the north, in the rich rainforests of the east, in the savanna plains of the west, and in the oil-filled swamps of the delta. My strength flows from the waters of the Niger and the Benue. Nigeria is my home. I am the voice of 200 tribes speaking more than 200 languages. I am the laughter of the world's happiest people. I am my brother's keeper. I am a child in one of the youngest nations on earth. I am the passion. I am the soul of a continent. I am a Nigerian.
Nigeria, the giant of Africa, covers a total land area of about 923,768 square kilometers. 910,768 square kilometers is covered by land, while water takes the remaining 13,000 square kilometers. The entire country is highly blessed as it enjoys benefits brought by the vegetation zones that nature has gracefully endowed Nigeria with. From the rainforest, freshwater swamp, Guinea savanna, Sudan savanna to Sahel savanna, Nigeria is indeed on top of the world. Also blessed with enormous tourism potentials, unequaled deposits of mineral resources, and vast land for agricultural practices of choice, Nigeria is open for investment. All these are accompanied by a wonderful and hospitable people of diverse and charming cultures. Come and invest in Nigeria, the land of abundance and hospitality.
Have you been thinking about coming to Nigeria? Then what are you waiting for? Come share in our wealth of vast resources. Come discover treasure. Come to where there's lots of business opportunities. Nigeria. Nigeria, my nation, my pride.
Hello and Happy New Year once again. I know everyone will be saying Happy New Year throughout January. This is Conversations on NTA Network, a program where we talk about things that affect you and me. Now today in the conversation room, I have three fantastic people. I'm going to leave them to introduce themselves. Let's start with the lady in red.
Hi, my name is Lina Abai. I'm an event planner and a cake artist.
Okay.
Hi everyone, my name is Bayo Adelaja and I am the head business coach at Do It Now, which is an entrepreneurship training company helping Nigerian people build incredible businesses.
Okay, awesome.
My name is Francis Daniel Okumagba, a wealth coach, president of FMG Wealth Empowerment Company. I teach people how to start businesses with little or nothing, and those in business how they can increase the volume of their businesses.
Okay, now since it's very early in the year, a lot of people are looking for how to make money or make more money in 2018, and that's our topic today in the conversation room. But before we get to our experts here, we'll be going to the streets to talk to youth and find out what their challenges are in setting up a business. We'll be right back after this.
One of the major challenge or issues of becoming an entrepreneur is basically capital, and because it all boils down to capital. We want to get the manpower, the tools and equipment, all those things. Personally, I would love to be a farmer. I would love to have a farm. So I just think that's just it.
The environment. You understand? Most times, the environment you establish your business might not be a better one for the business. You understand? Depending on the business you're dealing on. You understand? Like there are some places you can go to open up a shop. And then at the end of the day, you understand that the people living around there, they are not really conversant with such business you're running. Are you getting what I'm saying? So that are most of the challenges you face as business owners.
I'm a caterer by profession. I'm into indoor and outdoor catering. So, and I discovered that the numbers of customers that used to patronize us before, as one of those that are into food industry, they are no longer patronizing. For example, before when people have any little ceremony, birthday party, whatever, you see them doing a lot of merry. They gave out contracts to people like us that we are into food industry. But these days, we don't have such patronage anymore. And by the time we meet a few of them and ask them, we are not seeing you again. Is it that you are not celebrating anymore? You are no longer doing birthday, no wedding is going on or whatever. They will tell us that all these things that they are celebrating, all this thing is going on, but there's no money for them to give out for the caterers to order for what they need to make the occasion a nice one, to make the occasion a merriment like the way they want it. And by the time we ask them, they will tell you the cost of their living. The cost of the living is skyrocketing on a daily basis, and their salary remain where it is. For example,
in this part of the world where we come from as Nigerians now, actually starting up a business is actually very difficult because capital is one of the issues, lack of government support is one of the issues, stability in forex exchange is one of the issues. There are a whole lot, but we strive to do our best though. The issue of power supply. I remember I had a shop somewhere and the power supply was terrible. I had to leave there. I had to close down the shop because it was like I was wasting money. The bills were coming at like 12,000 a month for just resale wrappers, and so to get prepaid meter took like 6 months or over 6 months to get the prepaid meter. And so the issue of light and location. If you want to get a good location for your business, you need to pay higher. And if you think when you're renting a place, you have to think about how you're going to renew your rent. So starting with a high level of rentage and you know that in the first year of a business, it's not the guarantee of a big profit coming in is not very sure. You have to give yourself like 5 years to be able to gather enough funds and be able to have profits coming in regularly. So renting then.
We went to civil engineering, safety and security. So our major challenges is having clients, and if you know in the big firm, the realtors, that means you don't have the clients, but being a graduate, trying to work for yourself, things hard, but sometimes I think it takes the grace of the Almighty. It's good work and preference, so that's just it.
Okay, well, I feel some of the challenges young entrepreneurs face, like in terms of starting a business, is how to get the funds. A lot of people have the problem of finding the funds to start their business. Also, where to get your merchandise from, because a lot of entrepreneurs are confused. Like, you don't know if you should go to Aba or to go to Lagos to get your goods. That is if you want to go into clothing. And another challenge young entrepreneurs face is how to get the audience. Because whatever business you want to go into, someone else is already doing it. So how to get people to patronize your products is also a major challenge in starting a business.
It's mainly funding. I am a filmmaker. I just graduated from a film school. And I just finished a script, a feature film script. And since about a month now, I've been looking for executive producer who produce my script. You understand? Who fund my script. But I can't seem to get the money to do my film.
Yeah, one of the major challenges I've been facing so far is logistics, in the sense of transportation, startup capital, funds, and other things. And another thing that's the problem is the outlets, that's the store, and the setting up online avenue, like creating a website and all. It's kind of been a big challenge for me.
So setting up a business, what are the challenges and how easy really is it? This is what our topic is today in the conversation room. Now, Bayo, you say you're a social entrepreneur, am I right?
Yes.
Could you tell us what that is really all about?
Well, a social entrepreneur is essentially someone that puts the social mission of their business either on par or above the profit-making aspect of their business.
Okay.
So it's essentially for people who've thought of running a charity but realized it's really difficult to collect funding on a regular basis to run a charity. So you add a fund aspect within your mission.
Okay.
So we are passionate about helping young people build incredible businesses that will contribute to the formal economy of Nigeria and create jobs for other young people. Okay. That's the social mission. And the business aspect is I, along with my colleagues, train people on how to do those things, either individually or we get hired by organizations and we train thousands of people at a time.
Okay, awesome. So you're trying to make people that already have businesses to give to charity. Is that easy?
It's not easy. It's not easy at all. But thankfully, because youth entrepreneurship, which is our social mission, is such an important part of the conversation right now, where we're realizing there's 13 million Nigerians entering the workforce every year, and there's only about 1 million jobs being created every year. So we need to encourage young people to start businesses that not only sustain their own lives, but the lives of other young people. So because that's such a massive conversation that's happening across Africa, I'm lucky enough to be part of a company that's leading the charge on that.
Okay, could you give us those figures again? You said 13 million Nigerians are looking for jobs and there's only about 1 million jobs available.
So the government was leading the charge on the job creation and pledged to create 3 million jobs in a year. Well, yes, in a year, in a space of, I think, 2 years, and successfully created 1 million jobs, which is actually a massive feat to be able to do that.
Yes.
But that still means that there's 12 million other people that are in the workforce looking for work and unable to do that. So unable to kind of step their foot in a healthy job. And that's really what we're encouraging people to do when they start a business, to create a healthy, sustainable workforce so that you're paying people a living wage, not just something to take away, something that they can actually build their life with. Because at the end of the day, when someone has a living wage, when someone has a good job, they can then pay school fees, they can then further their education, they can pay for their hospital bills and all of that. And that's kind of where I came into it, where I really wanted to add to that economy of healthy, happy people in Nigeria and across the rest of Africa.
Okay, so that's 12 million Nigerians looking for work. That's what you do. You try and get people to create wealth. You know, when you introduced yourself, I'm sure people were like, wow, okay, trying to make money, and they're, you know, they've got they've got our attention, and they've got your attention as well, because they want to know, how are we going to make money in 2018? So there's so many people out there. Some of them are already in paid employment, but it's not enough. They need to get or make a bit more money. Where do you come in, Mr. Francis?
Money flows in the streets of Nigeria. Nigerians are not picking it.
I don't believe you.
You don't need a dime to start a business. Most of the businesses you have out there, you can actually start with little or nothing. We need to reorientate the minds of a lot of our people. Where we have the largest number of people who are jobless are the people who are not doing anything at all.
Okay.
People that are already doing are entrepreneurs, and that's helping them to do better.
Okay.
But the major chunk of people that we have are people that are doing nothing. We used to have role models in those days who are very hardworking, and people look up to them, and everybody wants to be like them. We got to a situation in our lives when we now have role models who don't do anything, and people want to emulate them. So you have a lot of young people who have killed their credibility. Our education system too does not allow for people to get exposed to how wealth is created. They go read different professions and all that, and they can't apply most of those things because of the way the education system is. Okay. Money is in the streets of Nigeria. You can start most businesses without nothing. I'll give you 3 examples that will show you very clearly how you can make 1 million naira a month employing people. The employment market is the biggest market we have in Nigeria today. There is no notice you put out there that somebody will not apply for a job. Can I tell you I can employ somebody and make 1 million naira a month?
Tell me.
If I put a notice that I want to employ a lawyer, for example, with due respect, and I'm willing to pay 100,000 naira a month, so many people apply for the job. If I pick the best among them and I lock him up in a room and I tell him all you'll be doing in this office is write agreements, and I go on to announce in 5 churches and the National Mosque that anybody that wants to write any form of agreement should come to my office. I charge just 20,000 naira. I'll be overwhelmed with the demand. And if I get 100 people come to me, how many people do I need to pay the salary of that lawyer?
Just 5.
5 people?
Yeah.
Am I a lawyer?
No.
Did I invest any money? No. You can employ a house girl, for instance. Pay the house girl a 10,000 naira salary. Pick the one that knows how to do the braids that you have on your head and put her in your sitting room and announce to people in your area that you do hair for children. Do you need 1 naira to start that business? No. You can imagine if we translate educating people on how to employ people and put them to use. We'll be able to take a lot of people who will take the initiative and go out and start employing people. And if you put the multiplier effect on that, you can imagine the number of people that will leave the streets. Now let me go into very simple things, how you can create wealth. Do you know today you can open a shop without 1 naira in your pocket? You don't need a dime to open a shop.
Shops are expensive.
I'm telling you, shops are expensive if you look at the end result. Starting a business is not looking at the end result. It's not looking at renting a place. It's not looking at stocking a shop. It's not looking at getting people that work there. It's not getting a generator. It's not getting diesel. You have a lot of overheads. If you can be trusted, if you incorporate the habit, the wealth creating habit, and you're able to present yourself well, there are a lot of people who have things to sell, who import things into Abuja.
Yeah.
Go negotiate with 5 major players. That's what they do in the market. Most of these Igbo people in the market. You see them, they run to you and tell you, I know where you can buy it cheaper. They take it to an importer who sells to you, and they do that for about 6 months, selling for about 5 importers. And after selling for about 6 months, the profit they make on the spread they get on the monies that people pay for what they sell is enough for them to rent a shop. And when you rent the shop, having created 6 months of credibility, those guys will give you sample things that you put in the shop, and you have a shop. Now let me tell you one other thing. Your shoes. A lot of young people these days take selfie, they go Instagram and all that. Do you know you can take the picture of your shoes and get somebody that sells shoes, get about 5 of them, take the pictures of the shoes. Don't get to rent a shop. When you get the shoes, get the pricing, add your little spread on it, and put it on Instagram, and put your phone number there. Do you need 1 naira to start that business?
No.
You can pick up any item to start that business. So money flows in the streets of Nigeria. What we do in my organization is to continuously empower people by counseling, and we also do mentoring.
Okay.
Most of these people, all you need to get them to start going is to change their mindset.
Okay.
Teach them on how they will think positively, how they can package themselves properly to look responsible and acceptable, and make the right friends. The ideas to create wealth are on the streets.
Okay. Lena, you're a business person. It's a miracle that we even got you here, because I know on average you're usually all over the place. Do you believe him when he says that money is free on the streets of Nigeria? You're in the business, you do it every day. Is it true?
What he said is very true to some extent, but when we come to entrepreneurship, there are different types of businesses, there are different types of entrepreneurships. There are businesses you start with or without capital, and there are businesses that you need huge amounts of capital to keep and run. I know most people that they don't sell clothes, they don't buy clothes, but what they do is they call them stockists. They go to different people that buy things from outside the country and buy their stock their shop from those people, and they sell, and they have things in their shop. They've rented their shop, and their business is running fine, but they're just a middleman between the customers and the people that import these things. Those businesses move fine, but considering the businesses we run in Nigeria, like an average person, regular businesses now, you see, okay, I'm a cake baker. For me, for instance, being a cake baker, you need a huge amount of capital, because most people will come and say, okay, I want a cake. You want a cake? How much is your budget? They say 5,000 naira. 5,000. I don't do cakes for 5,000 naira. They're like, it's just a cake. 5,000 naira is a lot of money. But thinking of running a cake business, you need to buy tools. You need to buy ingredients. You need light, electricity, and you know how electricity is in Nigeria. It's really, really crazy. Okay, you're staying in a place that there's no light. You need to run fuel. How much fuel do you need to run to bake one cake? And you need gas, you need everything else. It doesn't just come like that. You need money for those things. So that alone, to start a cake business, most of the time when I bake a cake, half of the money I make, I use it to reinvest to buy cake tools, because you need to learn, you need to grow every day.
Yeah.
That is from my own angle of business. So other businesses as well. Take for instance, you want to be a fashion designer. In Nigeria, most people say, okay, I'm a fashion designer, I'm a fashion entrepreneur. You want to sew clothes. Okay, before you decide going into that business, you need to have a tailoring machine.
Yeah.
That is money. You need to buy it. You need to sew, collect materials. You need to buy them for you to sew, to show people that, okay, I can do this. And in Nigeria, we want to see, what we see is what we believe. You can't come and meet me and say, oh, I know how to sew and I believe you. I need to see what you have sewn.
Let me cut in. I repeat, you can start any business. In fact, most businesses without 1 naira in your pocket. I would like to be challenged with one business that you think you cannot start with money.
But she's just mentioned
and
too.
I'm going to tell you, you talked about cake making.
Yeah.
I can sell your cake and make more money than you.
Definitely.
Because I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
The problem is not starting at that level when you are established already. If you start at the level where you are established already, you'll be looking for 1 million naira to start a business. If I want to be involved with cake making, I will get attached to somebody like you that is already established.
Definitely.
And I will work with you. If you like, give me the opportunity to go and volunteer. I'll do volunteering and come and start understudying you. If I don't want to understudy you, I will just come and tell you, can I help you sell your cake?
But Mr. Francis, isn't that eating into her own profit? The money she's meant to make?
No. He necessarily, in Abuja, there are a lot of people that do that.
Really?
They have different cake vendors and they just run an Instagram page.
they just, you order from their page and they come to me and say, I want a cake. But if everybody thinks like you do, then who will be the cake bakers?
You see the problem? They are already cake bakers and there will always be cake bakers.
Okay.
We are talking to people who don't have capital to start business.
Yeah.
And that's the orientation. A lot of people are sitting down at home today waiting to receive and save that money that they will use to start that business.
Okay.
If you don't have money and your objective is to raise money to buy the equipment, volunteer. Get 5 cake bakers. Go to them and tell them you'll be selling for them. As you sell for them and put it on Instagram, the internet is the biggest market today. The internet is bigger, the traffic you get on the internet is bigger than the traffic you ever get. So if I take your wares and take the pictures of 5 cake designers and I put it on Instagram and I put my phone number there and those pictures, more people will call me a day than they will call you. And I don't have capital. But if I do this for 6 months, I will have raised enough money to start buying those equipment. And as I'm raising the money, I'm picking your ideas on how you do your cake. I repeat, every form of business you can start with little or not, including farming. You can start a school without 1 naira in your pocket. You can start a shop without a dime in your pocket. I want to be challenged. Is there any business out there that you want to start? I will tell you how you can start it with little or nothing. I also tell you how you can start simple businesses. Selling sugarcane, selling any item you have in the market. You can make 1 million naira a month selling those items by packaging and getting people to sell for you. Sugarcane is still packaged in Nigeria the way our forefathers packaged sugarcane who did not go to school. We still sell sugarcane on wheelbarrows, unhygienic, unpresentable, but we are still doing it with all the education. Let me get the malams to bring the sugarcane from the farm. Tell them to clean the sugarcane very well and cut it into small bits and put in a transparent plastic bowl or Ziploc bag. All you need to do is get 500 packs of that sugarcane, sell at 200 naira per pack. You will make 100,000 naira a day. The capital for that business is 10,000 naira. For you to be able to sell 500, put a notice out there that you are looking for people to employ, graduates that you will pay 50,000 naira a month. They will rush to come and take the job. I will employ 6 of them. Give them 80 packs of the sugarcane to distribute a day. Put 2 of them in charge of supermarket. Drop 2 in the secretariat. Drop 1 in University of Abuja and 1 in Wuse Market. You will distribute and be able to sell 500 packs a day. Selling 500 packs a day of that sugarcane will give you 100,000 naira. The capital is 10,000 naira. That is 90,000 naira a day selling sugarcane with a capital of 10,000 naira. 90,000 naira a day. If you remove Saturday and Sunday, you have 20 days. 20 times 90,000 naira will give you 1.8 million naira. The salary of the 6th graduate is 300,000 naira. That is 1.5 million naira a month with a capital of 10,000 naira. Translate it into so many products. Any product you can think about that you need to package well and employ people to sell it. You have a lot more Nigerians get engaged and do a lot of things. Ask me I want to be asked questions today.
I'm interested.
That you have, that
I'm interested to know.
Without 1 naira in your pocket.
I'm interested to know what Bayo's thoughts are on it. But before we take your thoughts on this, Bayo, we'll take a quick break. This is Conversations here on NTA.
When there's a child out there that's not getting the same that your own child is getting, the difference will tell, and there will come a time in the society where that child is going to take his pound of flesh.
Where you can actually, everything from watching a program with the child, you can start up the conversation from something on the TV and say, oh, you know.
For me, it's like, hurry up with this business. And you know what said, and see, it's not about me, it's about the guys, they're not ready to marry.
Yes. If she wants to ask something, no, I know my mother very well. In fact, the most interesting one is when I put up pictures on WhatsApp, you know, Snapchat filters and all that, she will call me, remove that picture. I got tired of all that and I said,
Welcome back. This is Conversations here on NTA. We're talking about challenges of starting a business, and our guests, Mr. Francis, Bayo, and Lena. Lena is an entrepreneur. Bayo is a social entrepreneur.
I'm a wealth coach.
And Mr. Francis is a wealth coach who was telling us how you can make $1 million from sugarcane. You were talking about packaging sugarcane and distribution and everything, and I have this kuli kuli, which is, I guess, something like what you're saying. Put it in a very nice hygienic package and distribute, you know. But I would like to know what Bayo's thoughts are on what he has said so far.
Well, I absolutely agree with the core of what you're saying, but I want to challenge you on something that you said at the start of the conversation, where you said that, or if I remember correctly, that there's wealth in the streets and people aren't doing anything to pick it up. Now, the fact of the matter is, according to all the research and polls that's out there on entrepreneurship, Nigeria and most African countries are the most entrepreneurial. People know these things. They know that you need to start an Instagram page. They know that you need to go and be essentially a middleman is the type of entrepreneurship that you're advocating for. And it's true, there is wealth in the streets. But the problem is people don't know how to, they don't know what tools they need to pick up that wealth. How many people are creating packaged goods? How many people are selling things on the streets? How many people are creating these products? There are so many people that start these businesses because they have the same intuition that you do, that there is money to be made from connecting with suppliers and selling to consumers. Not necessarily having a store, but having an Instagram page, a Facebook page, all of these things. The problem is, 90% of businesses fail, and it's the same statistic across the world. 90% of businesses fail. 48% of that 90%, so just over half of that 90%, fail because they go into business looking to just do something. They're just trying to get some money. They're trying to supplement their income. I was actually watching NTA the other day, and there was a news segment on what you can do from your home so that you could just earn a little bit of extra money alongside your salary. And that's the way most people think about entrepreneurship, which is unfortunate, because the way you should be thinking about entrepreneurship is the way the other 42% that do fail think about it. They're looking to create a healthy, scalable, and sustainable business, something that's going to last generations, something that they can pass on to their children. Yeah. Something that's going to really bring wealth, as you advocate for, to their families, to their person. And the problem is, the reason 90% of businesses fail is they have no objectivity. They don't know how to look at their businesses as a business. They think about it constantly in that hustle and thrive mode, which is actually really detrimental for your business. Okay. A lot of the things that you said depends on your personal brand. You have to be a person that people can trust. You have to be a person that can communicate well. You have to be a person that can market well. These are all skills that you need to understand how to gain before you become successful. I was actually, I run a podcast, and I was speaking in that podcast yesterday about how to differentiate yourself from the crowd, because in Nigeria there's so many incredible, thoughtful individuals that are starting businesses every single day, but the market is so flooded that they have no way to differentiate themselves. And it's really about looking at what other people are doing and finding your niche, finding your target, understanding your customer, and then advocating for that specific person. I always talk about specific shops that I go into, like Mr. Biggs and Sweet Sensations. They essentially do the same thing, but they do it very differently for very different people. And it's about understanding who you're marketing to, who you're trying to advocate for, and what you're trying to sell, understanding your market. But there's so little education that goes into actual entrepreneurship that people think, I just need to go ahead and start a business, and then they do it, and they sink a lot of money. If they do have the money, they sink a lot of money or a lot of time perpetuating unproductive behaviors that essentially end up with them failing the business. The key, just one last thing. The key thing between that is behind the 10% of people that do succeed in running their business is a real understanding of the foundation of a business. You have to know who your ideal customer is. You have to know what your branding is doing, your marketing. You have to understand your social media. You have to understand all of these key things about yourself and your product and your customer and your competitors before you can start a real business. Otherwise, you're just making a bit of money and then crashing and burning.
Okay, so but how is the average Joe supposed to? I mean, you've mentioned so many things that people need to train themselves in, and I'm like, how are they supposed? Are they going to pick this off the internet? Are they going to Google it and find out how to improve their brand? How do you stand out from just, the stiff competition. There's so many other people doing it. And sorry, Mr. Francis, but I need to go to Lena and just ask her, you have so many people baking cakes in Abuja already. How do you try and stand out on your own before we hear from Mr. Francis?
Okay. In every business there are lots of competitors, and when, like she said, when you're going into a business, you just have to find, okay, this is what it makes you different from this A, this is what makes me different from B, and this is what makes me different from C. So when it comes to my work, I think what makes me different from the rest of the people is I feel customer relationship is very, very important in business. Some people, one thing when it comes to the city of Abuja, everybody claims to be a big business person, so they just talk to you rudely sometimes and be like, if you don't want to do this, just leave it. If you don't, a lot of people have put attitude into their businesses, and I try to do mine differently. I try to put my customers' feelings first. Most of the time they tell me, oh, I want this. I'm like, I can't do this, but I'll try to make it up with this. I take that relationship very seriously, because in a place like Nigeria, what makes you grow fast? I try to look at business from the scratch. There are businesses you look at from up there, but average, very, very low background. That's why I try to look at my business perspective from. So the way you talk to people, I feel mouth to mouth. Like if I do something, if I make a cake for you, you tell this person, oh, she made this cake for me. I'm like, okay, I'll use her. She calls me, and it keeps moving, and that's how it moves very fast. And
you don't need an Instagram page for that.
No, yes, you don't need Instagram. There are a lot of businesses, like a lot of cake bakers. They don't even post stuff on their businesses, but they make millions of money every month from cake. Instagram is not overrated actually, but it's not as easy as it is. Like what he was saying, you just put up your page, put your phone number. What would make people convinced to follow you?
The picture.
You just, you post pictures, yes, definitely, but it's not easy, it's not simple. There are a lot of other pages. So why would people follow you? It's very difficult.
The market is too big. We get too sophisticated. In fact, in Nigeria, we are over sophisticated. That's our biggest problem.
Our problem?
It's the biggest problem we have.
I thought that was a good thing.
You see, we're speaking English. There are a lot of people that are educated today. Why are we not using the education? Our education system does not translate people from the courses they read to the practical life. If you go to China today, they are beginning to make some basic things for people that are coming out of university. They must go to entrepreneurship. They must go to the ICT platform that exposes them. I just told you, I was talking about entrepreneurs. When you talk entrepreneurs in Nigeria, it's the successful ones you are talking about. The quantum of people that we need to address are the people that are not doing anything. The people that are in employment today that are earning salaries that cannot take them home are the ones we'll be talking about. We have over 20,000 people that are out there working as civil servants, earning salaries that cannot take them home when you divide the salary they earn every month by 30 days. We have a lot of people who sit at home and say they've graduated, they are not doing anything currently. I am telling you that's where we're addressing. You don't need 1 naira to start any business. And I repeat it. And you are in any business, you can double the volume of business with simple strategies. The market is very big. Our market is big. Drop a Nigerian to tell you that Nigerians are actually talented. Drop a Nigerian in China. Doesn't understand the language. The environment is very harsh. He's getting to the country for the first time. They survive. Go and look at the Igbo people in the markets. They bring their people from who don't understand English. Give them 6 months. They can open a shop of their own. What we need to do is to continuously open people's eyes and reorientate the minds of our people. A lot of our people are educated, but they can't practice the education. The people who brought education to Nigeria, they don't go to school the way we go to school anymore. We are over-schooled. Too many universities. I'm saying here now that you can start a business without 1 naira in your pocket. I want someone to challenge me with one big business, and I'm going to give you an example of how I can do an estate without 1 naira in my pocket. Using the power of collaboration.
You mean housing estate?
Housing estate without 1 naira in my pocket. Now I got a man that wanted to sell his land in Mabuchi, 40 million naira. The land will take 6 townhouses, and each of those houses in the area they sell for between 60 and 80 million naira. And I told this young man that he says he's retiring, he needs the money to start business. I say, I will build the 6 houses. I will give you 2. He asked me, how long will it take? I said, it will take only 1 year. We signed the contract. He gave me his title document and I put it in the bank. If I give him 2 of those houses and he's able to sell for 60 million naira, he will make 120 million naira as against 40 million naira. I've given him value. I've taken an estate without paying for land. Now I have a platform where I teach people how to start business with little or nothing, and how they can double their businesses, and how they can become landlord in 12 months. They register in the platform. I have over 2,000 of them already in the platform. And I went to them and I told them, I'm building a house. It's 60 to 80 million naira, but I'm willing to sell to you today for 40 million naira each. A driver in that platform sold one of those houses for 45 million naira, and he made 5 million naira. A rich man who wanted to double his money bought the other unit, and they asked me, how are they sure if they give me this money now, I will not divert the money? I told them not to give me the money, that you keep the money in the bank. I will fix the money in the bank, and if I don't give them their keys, I can't access the money. And I fixed the money in the bank for 1 year. And I went to the bank and I told the bank to give me a bank guarantee. I engaged a construction company to come and build the 6 houses as a contract. And I told him, your money is in the bank waiting for you. And I gave the man the bank guarantee. That estate is completed. If I can build an estate without putting 1 naira in it, challenge me with that business. Any business in Nigeria that is elementary, that you want to start from the scratch, I will tell you how you can start without 1 naira in your pocket. Challenge me, I will tell you how to start a school without 1 naira in your pocket. Now, there are attributes that you must have to position you to get to assess people, to be acceptable, and to be able to relate to people. You must think positive. You must have the right mindset. The right mindset is thinking of what you want to do and believe in it. And I tell people, if you determine to want to travel to Lagos tomorrow and you want to wake up as early as 6 a.m. in the morning, your spirit will not sleep. You wake up at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. You will look at the time zone and tell yourself, oh, let me sleep for 1 more hour before I wake up. Exactly that 1 hour you will wake up.
You wake up.
It's the same thing with creating wealth. Tell yourself today that you want to make 1 million naira a month. Your spirit will not sleep until you start making that 1 million naira. When you sit in the confines of your toilet, the ideas to make the 1 million naira will come. You need to set that seed in your mind of what you want to do, and that's where a lot of us fail. A lot of people fail because they don't aspire to do anything. They come with the fear, I don't have enough education. Entrepreneurs, I don't have enough education, I can't speak well. If education is a prerequisite for creating wealth, professors of economics should be very rich. Some come and tell you they don't have capital to start business. If starting business is money related, every rich man's child in Nigeria should be rich. There was a man that was the richest man in Africa when he was alive. He's dead. The children cannot make ends meet. Will you say they don't have capital? Will you say the ex-president's children don't have capital to start business? Money is not what you need. What you need is the right mindset, the right packaging, and the right network of people that you relate with. Because you'll be influenced on how you can actually take advantage of it. I repeat, every business has a beginning. You can start a farm without 1 naira in your pocket, and that's what I teach. I'm exposing people to basic wealth education, and what we need in Nigeria to solve unemployment problem by over 20% is to reorientate our people and change the educational system. Introduce in the educational system vocational programs, entrepreneurship programs that will open the eyes of people before they come out. NGOs should sponsor, politicians should sponsor people to enlighten people, because we have an orientation that our leaders have created. They don't want to work, they make money. So everybody around them want to do the same thing. We are losing our creativity. You can use a pot of soup to make 1 million naira a month.
You know, I like the fact that you're going high up there, not 100K, not 250K. You're always,
because that is the mindset of our young men and women today.
Bayo, for instance, let's say I have a business that has failed. No, this is not a fresh graduate trying to. I have a business, it's failed, it's a salon, you know, all the old hair dryers and the rest of it is in my house. I'm not using it anymore. How do I pick up from there? What do I do? Because there are people that are watching Conversations now that can relate to what I'm saying. I tried the business, I put my whole heart and everything into it. I saved, I sold this, I sold my gold to start a business, and it failed. Where do I go from here?
Those are actually the majority of my clients, people that have a passion for something and end up not having a clue how to actually run the business once they've got it set up, and then end up failing. And it is true, you do need the mindset to pick yourself back up. But what I encourage my clients to do is audit. Have a really good look at everything that you've gained over the period that you were running that business. You have resources, so you have the hair dryers, you have maybe you have the sinks or whatever it is that you accumulated. Do you still want to run a hairdressing salon? If you want to run a hairdressing salon, look for a way that you can possibly do that from your home because you already have the equipment. Look for a method that you can maybe hire someone to rent the equipment from you, and then you're doing something else within the same field. What I like to do is explain it in this way. Think of the easiest entry point to your next step. When I first started running my business, not this business, but a business when I was 19, I got a lot of success very quickly, and I was in newspapers, I was winning awards, I had 75 people in my team, and I was running, everything was going so smoothly, but I had no idea what I was doing or where I was going. It was just every blessing, every luck that could come my way was coming my way. And eventually it got to a point where I don't know what I'm doing. I'm leading all these people down a dark alley. It's all going to crumble down, and it did. And it's because of that experience, I can say, these are the skills I learned in that time. This is what I learned to do. This is how I learned to do it. I learned to build websites, I learned to market, I learned to advertise, I learned to do all of those things in that time. And that helped me pivot into what I'm doing now. With those experiences, those connections, those contracts that I gained, I moved it all into, okay, what did I learn and what can I do with it now? It's about thinking about what you want to do as a gold coin in the center of the room. And you have to figure out how many steps it's going to take you to get there. Okay. Take the easiest possible step today, then take the easiest possible step tomorrow, and keep going until you get to the center of the room. Okay. Because you can't get from 0 to 60 in a day, 3 days. We think about cars and think, 0 to 60, but you forget that the machine goes from 0 to 1 to 2 to 3. It just happens to do it very quickly. So you need to map out what you're going to do, I say a year's time. And you asked about tools and resources that people can get on the internet and things like that. Because of this, because like I said at the beginning of this conversation, my business is a social enterprise. So our social mission is on par with the profit-making aspect of it. And that's why we actually release a lot of things for free. Okay. So on our website, I hope you don't mind if I plug it, but it's doitnownow.com. We have something called the Grow Everyday Accelerator. And it's for anyone that's running a tech-enabled business, someone that uses social media to market themselves. We've created a 6-week course that brings you in the mindset that you need to run a business with the information that you need to run a business, and helps you plan out the next year of your business. Okay. And it comes with feedback and homework and a Facebook group and one-on-one coaching sessions with me for free, so that you can really understand what you're doing and how you're doing it. Because I am so passionate about the young people of this country. I'm so passionate about people gaining employment and wages. Yeah. Because 12 million people entering the workforce every year and not able to get a job because there aren't the jobs out there. You need to start thinking differently. Yeah. You need to start thinking about what you are passionate about as a human being and what you want to contribute to the formal economy.
You know, I'm very moved with what you said, because I think I'm at the stage of my life where I just seem to have a lot of people that need a lot from me. So that doesn't even leave me with enough. You know, they call it corporate begging now. You know, the people that you don't even think need money, and they're asking, you know, they're sapping so much from those that are actually earning, and so you're left with even, you know, little, and those ones just don't want to get up and do something. So I'm really happy that this show is here to just encourage people that, you know, you need to get out there and do something for yourself. It's
Nigerians are talented. They're just sitting at home doing nothing. Look at the number of people that are in employment today. A young lady walked into my office. The average salary of the young people that are coming up now that are working is between 18,000 and 30,000 naira. And I asked her, how much do you earn for a living? He said 30,000 naira a month. I said, divide that 30,000 naira by 30 days so that you know how much you really earn every day. It translated to 1,000 naira. And I asked her, how much do you pay to and fro to this work that you go to? He said 600 naira. I said, how much do you eat every day on the break time for food? He said 500 naira. I said, how much do you spend on the average on your airtime and data? He said 200 naira. I said, what is your take home daily? So you understand why you don't need to go to that work. It translated to minus 300 naira. And they walk through the streets of Nigeria with the monies in the streets of Nigeria. They are not picking it. You don't need any money to start any business. What you need to do is to package yourself well. Have the right mindset.
Make the right friends that will influence you. Use the arithmetic sign to select your friends. The minus, the plus, the division, and the multiplication. Stay around people that are positive and multipliers. They will influence you positively. You can volunteer to somebody who is doing something very well and learn from the person. If you start a business without a dime in your pocket, you can never fail, because you will fail before you start making the money to buy the equipment. But if you go get an uncle to give you money to buy the equipment, you will fail because you will not understand the basis of running a business. The Igbo people in the market, they understand the rudiments of the business. They come fresh and they go attached to somebody, and all they do is just sales and looking at what the boss does. And before time, they will know the major importance that you have in that town. And when they open a shop, it's the sample of the items that they actually sell in the shop. There is no investment in that shop. Give our young people today 1 million naira to go and start a shop, because they cannot manage the overheads, the rents, the things that you need to buy to stock the shop, the generator, the diesel. They will fail because they've not gone through businesses to understand that you need to focus on your 80-20 rule. If you want to do any business, I want to come back to you. You can double your business today by focusing on 5 major customers that can give you 80% of the volume of business that you get. Don't go out marketing 100 people. Don't try to be a marketer if you're not a marketer. Focus on production. Employ 5 people that will market for you. They will make the money to pay their salaries. And when you're employing, don't employ your relatives. Don't employ people from the same local government with you. Don't employ religious people that are in the same religious set with. They will fail you, and you will become sentimental about employment. And you will employ people that are redundant, doing nothing, and they will destroy your business. If you employ right, and you get focused on 5 major customers, those 5 major customers could be characteristics of somebody that influences people to give you cake business to do. It could be a church that have their marriage seminars and all that. Go to the catechist in the Catholic Church, get 5 of them, and tell them anything you sell through them, or they give you, you give them 20% of whatever you get from them. You will have those churches giving you orders that you cannot handle. That is a point of contact. The next point of contact that you should look at is people who are event managers, the big event managers. Tell them, I want to be attached to you. I'm a cake designer. When you have any wedding, give me the opportunity to do the cake. When you see somebody that is into wedding gowns and all that, go there and tell the person, add me to the number of businesses that you do. Put me in your catalog. You don't need to open those areas to do more cake. When you finish doing that, get somebody that knows how to do the internet. Use the internet very well and plug into the internet. Pay the person 50,000 naira to be your social media salesman. You will sell cakes that you cannot produce. And by the time you start doing that, you start employing more people to do it. And if you are small in the cake business, attach to 5 major cake designers and tell them I will be selling for you along what I'm selling. So if you are doing a style that people come and they don't have your style, you will be able to get them to do the style. The last one is, if you don't have a shop in Wuse 2, in the high streets of Abuja, go to a shop that is doing something similar to what you are doing. Offer to put your cake stand there and tell the person that sell whatever you want to sell. Take 20% and give me 80%. You can sell your cake in ShopRite. You don't need to pay rent to put your cake on the high street. That is your business. And I'm saying that anybody that has any type of business, I will show you how you can double the volume of business that you're doing. And for those who have not started anything at all, let them come. For those who have money, we have a lot of people that have money who don't know what to do. Let them come. We'll show them how they can put their money in the bank. Their monies will be working for them without me touching the money. Money flows in the streets of Nigeria. We don't do certain things where our education system needs to be retweaked. China is not churning graduates anymore. If you do vocational program, you make more money than the graduate that we have today in university. And if you are a graduate, please go back and learn the vocational skill. Because the vocational skill will pay you more than getting employment as a civil servant that will pay you 30,000 naira. And continue to mortgage your youth and have nothing to do before you get to the age of 65 when you retire to nothing.
When it comes to these things, I like to be very, very look at it from an everyday, what practical, you see everyday practical angle. He said something about go to event managers. I mentioned earlier that I plan events. I worked with an event planning company, and I just started out my own event planning firm. In Abuja, for instance, You come to me, okay, I want you to plan my event. Everybody wants a Bella Naija wedding, for instance. Everybody wants, okay, cake by this top artist, makeup by this top artist. You can't meet an event manager and say, okay, I want to do this. You get probably in 6 months, you get probably one job. That's if the person really likes you. Because most people want to use people that are already very, very popular.
Okay.
People that everybody knows because they want to hear that name, even if they don't even give them up to the standard of what they want. That's growing to that extent now is what I want you to analyze for me.
Yes.
Then on another angle, okay, the angle you mentioned about you going to meet other people to collaborate and say, okay, a shop in Wuse, I get that part. But talk about a student in Gwagwalada now. A student that is just in a university, she came from, let's say, Akure to come to Abuja to school. She's just the average person. How do you, okay, you want to make money? Because I was looking at some Instagram pages. Someone said she would coach you. She's your life coach, well coach, this, have a one-on-one session with her. You pay 60,000. How do you want someone in Gwagwalada that is squatting in someone's house to give you 60,000 naira to teach her how to grow her business?
Oh, can I tell you something? I want to start with what you just said now. You talked about the issue of you looking for one person to partner with that. Some of them have names. How many people can afford those name cakes in Nigeria? That is 1% of the population.
I was going to say that.
How can you be going after people that are Don't go and sell cake to the 1% of the population. You will not make money. Bonvita is themed. Bonvita tin is sold in the rich area. The rich children not drink Bonvita anymore. Do Bonvita with that tin, take it to Yanya. You will not sell. But put it in sachets. You will sell over 1 million pieces of that Bonvita. If you are a cake designer, look at your market. Create the market that you really know is your market. And let me tell you, the cake designers we have in Abuja, they are over 1,000.
More than.
If I want to partner with you and you are making it difficult, I will move on to the next cake designer that is as good as you. What I'm telling you now is that you don't even need to be that name. Just go and tell the person that has the name, I will bring business for you.
Okay.
You are a cake designer. If they come, you say, I'm an agent to that man. Don't limit yourself to the thought of, I want to be up there. Up there is very quiet. You sell more in the poor market than in the rich market. The rich people don't buy. Look at Abuja today. Those who are into real estate, go to Mitama and Sokoro, half of the houses are empty. Go to Yanya and look at the number of houses that are empty. Which market do you want to really play in? You sell a house in Mitama for 20 years, you will sell 100. If you come to my class and I tell you what to do with your cake, you will make over 10 million naira selling cakes.
Okay, sorry to cut you again. Like I said, I like to look at it very practically. I talked about a young girl coming from Akure to come to Abuja to school, and she's trying to say, okay, well, maybe I do small chops and this. She needs to take her business. You would charge her money?
No.
You wouldn't charge her money?
Anybody, I've just said it earlier. Anybody that has idea and money is the problem to start a business. I don't give monies. I give education. I give basic wealth education skills to people to learn. Okay. You can follow me on Twitter. I can actually give you tips.
You talked to us about women being impulse buyers, and because Conversations is tailored towards the women. I mean, men, we love you too, but it's tailored towards the women first. Could you talk to us about how we can manage or curtail impulse buying as women?
If you are a woman, please make your list, your shopping list before you go out to the market. If you don't have a shopping list, you will buy rubbish. Because women are attracted to what they see. If you go to the market, go to Wuse market now with some monies and you don't go with a list, you'll be buying things that you see that you like. And at the end of the way, you come back home and put these items down, you will see that they're all useless. That's why I said in the last program that men are better managers of money. But women, if a woman does a list, she will go and pick the list of what he buys. And women has the instincts for business. You don't have to tell women to profile themselves because they already know how to package themselves. That's the problem I have with my male students. Yeah. Women are better packagers, so they package well. Women have intuition If you teach a woman how to think positive and how to have ideas, it will do wonders because they have so many things they can do. A woman that just is just leaving school can actually be doing makeup and all that and is making money. Do you know you can actually be a cook, can make $1 million a month? Going to cook for different people or cook a pot of soup and get 6 graduates to go and sell it to 2,000 naira each, you will make $1 million a month.
Lena, I don't know if you have any tips to any of the entrepreneurs listening out there.
Basically, my view to entrepreneurship, I always put it side by side with passion as well. So passion is what brings me to where I am. Okay. It's just the passion. So what I would like to tell people, young women especially, if you like something, do that thing. But try to be different. Don't try to do it because every other person is doing it. Don't try to do it. Try to do yours differently, and I'm sure that somewhere with you get to where you want to be. Okay. Just create a bigger picture. Don't look at it from where you're standing. A bigger picture. Then, like what she said, you take easy steps. Like what they say in business, you take baby steps. Just 1, 2, 3 steps, and you move forward. That's the thing.
All right, Bayo, any last words?
I wish there was more time because I really do enjoy talking about female empowerment in the entrepreneurship space. And my last words will be about that. Women are incredible business starters. The problem is women tend to fail easily in business because there is a lack of objectivity when it comes to running a business. We tend to run businesses like we're mothers and wives, taking care of it, nurturing it, making sure that we're needed throughout every single aspect of it. But what I try to teach my clients is about the long-term plan, like you were just saying. It's about being sustainable, about creating a business that doesn't rely on you. The joke I tell is, I run my business so that I can sleep more, so that I don't need to be there. I can live my life and the business runs itself. So when you start thinking about what you need to do to create a business that can run by itself, you're on the right track to building a real successful business.
And empowering other people.
Thank you, Bayo. Thank you, Lena. Mr. Francis?
Just want to reiterate that money flows in the streets of Nigeria. You don't need 1 naira to start a business.
Thank you so much for joining us, and see you again soon. Goodbye.
Nobel Prize winner, a soccer champion, a giant of literature, a musical icon. My roots lie in the dusty Sahel of the north, in the rich rainforests of the east, in the savanna plains of the west, and in the oil-filled swamps of the delta. My strength flows from the waters of the Niger and the Benue. Nigeria is my home.
We are on to NT International News, and these are the stories trending at the moment. I am Femi Johnson. President Muhammadu Buhari will tomorrow depart for Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, to participate in the 30th ordinary session of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government of the African Union. The highlight of the president's engagement during the visit will be his statement under the historic theme for the AU summit, namely
winning the fight against corruption, a sustainable path to Africa's transformation. This is the first time in the 54-year-old history of the AU that anti-corruption will be made a theme of the gathering of the regional leaders. It will be recalled that on the 4th of July last year, during the 29th session of the AU, African leaders unanimously endorsed President Buhari to champion the fight against corruption on the continent. The endorsement was also in recognition of his personal commitment and widely acclaimed anti-graft drive at the domestic level. It is on record that the anti-corruption war of the administration is also yielding desired results. Meanwhile, the Presidential Committee on Northeast Initiative is working towards improving infrastructure, education, livelihood, health, and humanitarian needs of the region, in line with President Buhari's plans. At the first Coordination and Indicators Validation Forum, stakeholders reviewed the initiative's activities in relation with the President's plan after 1 year, and also projected for year 2018. The forum we discussed in group had the Vice Chairman of the committee, Ibrahim Tumsa, saying that the partnership with the World Bank, DFID, and other key stakeholders has assisted the committee to provide necessary humanitarian aid to the affected people and the area. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps has impounded 8 trucks containing 469,000 liters of petrol in Mokwa, Niger State, being diverted to Benin Republic. The Niger State Commandant of the Civil Defense Corps, Yakubu Ayuba, says the Corps also arrested the drivers of the trucks. 6 out of the 8 trucks purportedly belonged to one marketer. This arrest confirms the NNPC's position that products hoarding and diversion are responsible for the fuel supply shortages witnessed recently in some parts of the country. U.S. President Donald Trump has for the first time said he is prepared to be questioned under oath as part of an investigation into alleged Russian meddling into the 2016 U.S. election. He said he was looking forward to it, subject to the advice of his lawyers. Investigators are also assessing if the Trump campaign colluded with Russia to influence the election in his favor. A claim denied by Mr. Trump and Russia. The investigators will also determine if Mr. Trump obstructed the inquiry. The U.S. intelligence community has already concluded that Moscow tried to sway the presidential election in favor of Mr. Trump. And these are the stories trending at the moment. My name is Femi Johnson.
This is the network service of the NTA.
Welcome to this edition of Platform. My name is Muhammad Kudu Abubakar. Diabetes, in a layman's language, is described as a disease or medical condition caused by a lack of insulin, which makes the patient produce a lot of urine and feels very thirsty. Experts say diabetes is now a worldwide epidemic with far-reaching devastating consequences, especially among blacks, particularly Africans. This edition of Platform discusses healthcare management in Nigeria and the diaspora, with a special focus on the global epidemic, diabetes. Our guest is a medical doctor with extensive broad-based training and clinical expertise in more than 3 continents. Dr. Nelson Aluya He is currently the medical director at Newark Extended Care Facility, New Jersey, the United States of America. As an assistant professor of medicine and pediatrics at the Rutgers University Medical School, New Jersey, Dr. Aluya has had vast knowledge in the medical management of people of diverse social, racial, and ethnic backgrounds with varied medical concerns. He graduated from the Ahmadu Bello University Zaria with a degree of Bachelor's of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, MBBS. He had his internship first in Nigeria and thereafter proceeded to the United States for another internship in medical pediatrics postgraduate at Newark Beth Israel Medical Center in New Jersey. Dr. Nelson Aluya is a Nigerian diasporan based in the United States. He will also tell us how Nigerian doctors in the diaspora can contribute to bridge the huge gap in Nigeria's healthcare system. Dr. Nelson Aluya, welcome to Platform.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure.
As usual, on the panel, we have a distinguished appearance of one of our very seasoned health television producer, Moji Makanjola.
Thank you very much.
And of course, joining her is our health correspondent with the NTA News 24, Aisha Ubali.
It's a pleasure to be on Platform.
Yeah, it's a pleasure for all of us that we have a diasporan medical doctor here in Nigeria with us to discuss health management in Nigeria and specific issues of diabetes and several others. But Dr. Nelson Aluya, before we really start, in the introduction, I talked about the fact that you did an internship in Nigeria. Then you went back to the United States to do internship and you never came back. How did it start, or where did it start? What happened? Let's start with that.
Well, as you said, I trained at the great Ahmadu Bello University, Zaria, and then did my internship there, and further went to United States to improve on myself. The essence of it all is acquiring knowledge and skills, and knowing the need to further expand your horizon. Those were the pushing force that led me to going to the United States. And I often joke with them in the United States. I said, listen, I came to the United States because it was the cradle of knowledge. If it was somewhere else, I would have gone there. For you to be among the best, you have to be where the best are. And that's why I chose the United States.
So what happens after the internship?
Well, I did further training in pediatrics and medicine, and then joined the university as well. And in the university, that's where knowledge as a whole can be put together and harnessed and pursue research and know diseases, at the same time impact younger individuals who are coming and teach them the full flow of how medicine ought to be practiced, how it ought to be viewed, and how to take care of patients and further expand yourself and your career as well. So and that's exactly what it was.
Go ahead.
Yes, okay. I'm just saying that it's wonderful to go seek for knowledge. And let's do a comparative analysis. What did you see there that you think you can bring back home? Or what is it that we're lacking here that we need to improve on in terms of acquiring more skills to do what we do at home better than we're doing now?
Right, no doubt. It's something I've always said. I got broad-based, extensive training in ABU. We were well trained. People say things have changed over the course of the years. Maybe or maybe not. But then going abroad, technology is a big issue. The approach to healthcare, it's another one. Policies that are set in place to make medicine comfortable are other issues as well. And even the empathy that's put into healthcare is another one. And then the medical legal reasons behind the healthcare and how you manage diseases is also of paramount effect. Over the years, unfortunately, I'll say there's a huge dichotomy within how medicine is in the United States and how it is here now. And the divide is fast expanding, unfortunately, I would say. When I went out there. There are things that I saw here, clinical conditions that I never, knew what they were. I remember a case of a young man a close friend of mine who died of a heart disease here in Kaduna then. And when it was something that intrigued me. I wondered what it was. But over the course of the years, I found out that eventually he died of what they call non-compaction syndrome, which even over the years in the United States was not very well known. It's things that now they've delineated the disease and come to understand it even better. Why? Because people put work into finding issues and solving questions that they have, and then pushing on and trying to achieve and answer those questions. We have curious minds here in Nigeria, very bright, very intelligent young men and women who I have interacted with over the course of the years, and even when I interview them when they come for residency programs. But then, when they have questions, the means to answer those questions is lacking. The technology, the resources to pursue and answer those questions are big issues.
Yeah. Okay, doctor, from what you've said, I think the care that the caregiver gives to a patient is very, very important in managing whichever disease the patient has. Correct. So what are those things caregivers in Nigeria should do to improve on the way they handle patients? Well,
I look at it in two prongs. In the essence of it all is, like I said, we were well trained when I was here. We were trained on the empathy of how to deliver healthcare. But then over there, it's a curriculum. Here, it's not, outlined in the curriculum. And there are principles and policies set in place by the government, by the state, by the institutions, and even the departments on how you approach patient care. Some of those things we probably do have here, but they're not, emphasized on, or they're not enforced. That's one end. The other prong is the conditions by which people practice here. I mean, over there, conditions are well established. I mean, they make the doctors and those in the healthcare facility practice medicine the way they ought to, and they provide them with all the facilities and all the tools and the whole works that they need to do that. But here it's a big issue. Over the course of years, I've come from time to time giving lectures and talks, and I've visited emergency rooms, both in tertiary institutions here and even the federal medical centers and in private centers. We find out that the conditions where the doctors practice is a big issue, and those are things we need to address. I mean, I remember talking to a young lady the other day while I was at one of the federal medical centers. A friend of mine had fell off a bike and had a concussion. I was unconscious. The approach was not what I would do. The doctors I met, they were very, receptive to learning from where I stand and what I had to offer. And then, but then when I looked at the condition where they work, it was appalling. It's deplorable. It's disheartening. They work on tables that are, almost makeshift, or even platforms that are made of concrete. No fan. The place was hot. The mosquitoes all over, and the doctor who's supposed to work there for 24 hours is sitting with patients with mosquitoes swirling around him. I mean, you don't expect that kind of person to smile and be
so the doctor will, in the long run, also become a patient.
Yes, it becomes a patient.
So how do we bridge this gap then? I mean, you are up there, you are a Nigerian, of course. I mean, how do we bridge the gap between what obtains over there and what you have seen here?
I just want to add quickly to what Kudu has said so that you can deal with the two questions together. What you saw here before you left is not what you are seeing here today. Do you agree with me?
I agree.
Okay. So we have all agree here that we have a gap here.
Yes.
Right. Now, in closing this gap, is it just about the patients themselves, the environment, or even the medical practitioners themselves? Because we've had a lot of conflicting
or the facilities.
Or the facilities. Right. We've had the fact you kept mentioning something that resonates to me, that a lot of empathy came with the training that you have here, and that is not exactly what is there, because you have rules and regulations that binds you to do some things. Right. So how do you marry all this together? You know, you brought a lot of things together here under this context of patient care and medical practitioners themselves, right, living up to STEAM. Right. How do we get this working? Can it work?
It can. I mean, how? It can. I think it's a work in progress, but it's something that would involve everybody, and at every level. I mean, from the patients to even the relatives, even to the individual department, the hospital, the state, the federal government level, and even the NGOs, and all the stake health holders, from pharmaceutical industries to those who supply medical supplies. Everybody ought to be involved. I mean, if you want to take it on a primary level from the patients itself, one, patients ought to and should be informed about health and health issues. And that's empowering them to understand their rights. They ought to have and to know their rights. And one of the issues that most patients have, issues they have here, most people don't know their rights. I mean, there are certain things that you should not allow happen to you. And if you feel uncomfortable about certain things, it's okay to ask questions. I mean, everybody's under some form of pressure somehow. Doctors are really pressed, no doubt. They work under, you know, huge duress, time, pressure, and space. But at the same time, you know, it's your right, it's your body. Like I tell my patients, I'm like, listen, I am with you maximum 30 minutes a day, you know, at a point in time. But you're with yourself 24 hours a day. So you know yourself more than anybody else will. So you need to know what and how you feel, and how your body, if it changes, you need to ask questions. And then be bold. Ask the doctors questions. And that's one. But then again, you know, you have to find a way to ask. If you ask in a polite and decent way, obviously, you know, somebody will listen to you. Then, you know, with the healthcare, you know, aspect of it, the hospitals ought to have set principles, also guidelines, that which doctors ought to learn to practice, and then reinforce these guidelines. Not just reinforcing them, but also creating avenues where doctors are trained even better with this. Because, you know, with everybody else, you get one, if I say one thing one time, you get it. But not every one of us will get it at the same time. So you may have to repeat it, you may have to identify those who don't understand it, and those who have a difficulty understanding it, and then creating avenues for them to learn and to understand it even better. And that should go along everybody in the healthcare system, from the nurses to the doctors to even the family, the techs who take, you know, the blood, and the people in the labs. We all have a stake in this. You know, healthcare is an issue that
everybody has a stake. But speaking specifically now, you Nigerians who are up there are called diasporans. Right. What can you do? Because you are a big force, right, and you are even experts in your own right. What can you do? You have identified some of these challenges here, and you're a Nigerian. What do you think you can do to help maybe the medical institutions, the health centers, or is it the universities, or what?
Well, granted, you say we're a huge force. Yes, we are a huge force. There are over about 38,000 doctors practicing abroad.
Nigerians?
Yes, Nigerians alone. And we are not just doctors. As a matter of fact, I gave statistics recently. There are about, you know, 2.1 million Africans in the United States, of which Nigerians form over 46%. This currently about 440,000 of us in the United States alone. So it's a huge force. And everybody who I talk to, every diasporan, doctors or non-doctors, and then we talk about doctors, we forget others too. The pharmacists, their lab technicians, their physical therapists, their physiologists, you know, their psychiatrists, and everybody else. Each and every one of those individuals have a passion wanting to come back, to give back to the society here. But one of the big issues that they complain about is the avenue, who to trust, how do we get it done. But I also tell people this, if you want to get...
You have done that through maybe NGOs that are based here in Nigeria?
Yes, but then the issue of trust is there.
You're not trusting individual now, you're trusting the NGO.
Well, even the NGOs too, there are issues of trust.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I'm just going to come in here and say...
Because that's Moji's tough.
Yes.
She's in that NGO. So
yes, I know. So I mean, when you're talking...
Dr. Aluye does not trust you?
No, couldn't have been talking about me. Couldn't have been talking about me because I'm in the process of advancing the media as a strategic tool for contributing to healthcare delivery system. Right. And you just made some mention to that it's, I think that is an integral part of it. Information is powerful, is knowledge, and when you have information you can as well use, I mean, looking after yourself starts from, you know, what you talk about yourself. Now, but I'm worried, you know, particularly about diasporans coming back home to give and to contribute. It's usually an intervention.
Right.
It does not last.
Right.
Take for example, take for example, you come in, you have surgery. Eye surgery is very one of the commonest that you have around.
Right.
How do you do with follow-ups?
Right.
Complications might arise. How do you do with follow-ups? So there's need for diasporans to trust and bring back knowledge, so that you are not just coming to do an intervention and leave. And what happened to the complications? And I have followed up on some complications that have arisen as a result of our diasporans coming, that I'm happy about that they do come, but that because they have to go back to their lives, the gap still exists. So how do we close this gap?
You see, my coming to Nigeria at this time is actually on a fact-finding, mission. If you have to, nothing good comes easy. You have to put your hands, roll up your sleeves, and put your hands in the dirt to get things done. One of the biggest concerns is, like you said, rightly said, follow-up. And sustaining and propagating the things that, the wishes and the values that people have. It's something I've thought about over the course of the years. I've done medical missions in the US. I do medical missions in Jamaica. And there's a structure that the Jamaicans have set, and the Caribbeans. Probably because they're so close to the United States, and it's easy for them to go back and forth. And I've done those things with them. I've seen how they do their things, and I want to be able to translate that here. So I recently met with, the Honorable,
Minister of Health?
Abike Dapiri, who is, championing the diaspora, cause and all that. I mean, she's an amazing and a wonderful, receptive person. And I was really impressed, when I, tried to give, even if it's within a short time, my dreams and ideas of what we need to bring. So my approach is this. First, we need to set up a constructive, firm structure of how the diasporans can come in and give back to Nigeria, in the sense that it has to be involved with all the ministries, the Ministries of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Internal Affairs, the Ministry of Health, where there ought to be a body that links and coordinates and collaborates this work with the people in diaspora, and then form a body also in diaspora. So even if it's NIDO or AMPA, which is the American, Association of Physicians, so that there will be body formed there. I've talked to some of the NIDO executives and the immediate past presidents, as well as AMPA, I'm involved in AMPA, and I'm also involved, I recently became the president-elect of New Jersey Medical Association. So it's a platform that I really want to use. There's so much to do. We can translate that into, you know, our consciousness here. So forming a firm, you know, definite structure where people can account for, you know, the things that they do. One, a body that would collaborate and coordinate each and every one of these things that's done. First, granted, people can come here to Nigeria to give effect, to do, but how do we know who they are or where they're even coming from? What's their expertise? If they're experts in those, you know, fields, are they qualified to do the things they're actually doing? We don't know that, but we ought to know those things, because I don't want anybody who feel he's from diaspora or whatever come give here, you know, medications or treatment to people, you know, my people back home, when I don't know if they're really doing what they ought to be doing. And even when they come, what they're doing, is it applicable to national standards or international standards? Are those the things that we really want or need? That's one. The medications that come in, are they medications that are verified? Are they up to date? So those are things we ought to, you know,
look out for.
To look out for as well.
So what was Honorable Abike Dabiri's? You said she was receptive, but what else did she say she was going to do? Did she tell you she was going to maybe hook you up with the Minister of Health, for example, or the other strata of health institutions?
Even before I met with them, there's AMPA has, you know, met with her before.
What is AMPA?
AMPA is the American Medical Association of Physicians in America. They're a collection of body of Nigerians, doctors, not just doctors but physicians, you know, dentists and psychiatrists who practice in the United States. So they've met and they're trying to form this same structure. But, you know, like with everything else, nothing is being done. But I have it as a passion. It's my driving force, because I think it's time we get these things done, because there's so much head needs and there's so much that can be done, that the system, that the people in diaspora can contribute to the system and help, like you said, bridge the gap.
Yeah, so, Dr. Alua, let's quickly now veer into the other specifics. Sugar, diabetes, diabetes mellitus. These are, I understand, are different strands or kinds of diabetes disease that we have, and I understand it is almost becoming an epidemic. How bad is the situation, and what can people like you do?
It's very bad. I mean, if in 2016 the WHO and Center for Disease Control in America finally came to realization that diabetes is an epidemic. I mean, I've been sounding the alarm for the last 10 years in America because I see what it does to the black community. We, as a race, I tell people this, diabetes is new to us. In fact, studies have shown that in the 80s, there were just about 800,000 people who were known to have diabetes in Africa. But as we speak, it's about 19 million, and it's counting. So the incidence rate or the prevalence rate has quadrupled from the 80s to now. It's a big issue. If in America, where they have all the facilities and everything else, that the money and all that and all, they spend $440 billion on diabetes and diabetes-related disease. How much do we have in our entire healthcare system? As a matter of fact, less diabetes. So if it's an epidemic for them, to us here, it's a catastrophe. And it's something that we need to pay attention to. And that's one of the big issues and a passion of mine. And I think it's the alarm bell should be ringing in everybody's head, because in the United States, 2015 alone, there were like 29 million people with diabetes, with 88 million with pre-diabetes. That's another portion again that we'll talk about. But in 2017, the reports for 2018 is not out. They're already from 29 to 33 million already. So 1 in 4 people in diabetes in America has pre-diabetes. So do we have those statistics here? We don't. And how many people do we have we know in Nigeria that has diabetes. Some report as of 2012 said there were about 1.7 million. But we know that's a gross underestimate. So right now I'm sure probably over 3, 4, 5 million people.
That's speaking actually to those that have come out to report,
yes,
or incidental findings,
right.
you know. But for me, we have an epidemic here, and it's a serious one. And when you are diagnosed with diabetes, you need some measure of treatment, and you can be on that treatment for life.
Right.
What do we do? Let's talk about the causes. What is it that makes us susceptible
For
now?
example, you said pre-diabetes.
Yes.
What is pre-diabetes?
Right.
What state is that, and then what is diabetes?
Right. So the question is, why is diabetes an issue for us now, if it wasn't an issue before? Couple of reasons. One, our lifestyle. We begin to adopt the Western style of lifestyle. I mean, back in the days, I often say, if you wanted to see grandma in the next town, you walked, or in the next 2 houses, you walked. Now it's a phone. Grandma, how are you? And that's what it is. You used to walk to the store. Now we drive, or we send somebody. So obesity is a big issue. So our lifestyle resulting in sedentary lifestyle, making us bigger. And, you know, unfortunately, the notion that the bigger you are, the healthier you are, is something we need to take out. That's all teaching, because the new teaching is you need to stay slim, you need to stay slim. But for me, not necessarily slim, but you need to stay active and fit. You need to find, if you have a lifestyle that's sedentary, you have to find a way where you have to exercise. You have to make your body move. So that's one. The diet is another issue. I mean, refined sugar. Everything now, you know, over the years I say is imported. We live on imported food, we live on imported stuff, and we see our kids are getting bigger and bigger every year. When they did the statistics, if you put the map of diabetes and obesity in the United States, they look similar. Do we have such maps here? We don't. So those are things we need to start putting in our consciousness. So a lifestyle, sedentary, food, those are big issues. In as much as it's inheritable. But however, if you don't provide the condition where diabetes will thrive, it will not thrive. Because we already had the genes, but it wasn't expressed. Now, before I come in, there's a new entity creeping into the medical lexicon. It's called epigenetics. Now, it's how your DNA expresses itself phenotypically. So, even if you don't have the DNA itself, but when environmental factors, you know, maybe viruses, the food you eat, and everything else, radiations, tend to change your DNA, it expresses itself in forms that manifest in diseases. Probably diabetes is one of them. So, what do we do? One, information, information, information.
That's where we come in.
Right. So, and that's why media, social media is a powerful tool. We know what the social media can do for us. So we need to blow this all out there. Because I'm sure in our lifetime, we will either one of us or know somebody or have a friend who knows somebody who has diabetes.
Now, what state is this pre-diabetes?
Right. So
what are the symptoms?
So if I may add to what Kudu asked, we know that diabetes can only be managed and not treated.
Right.
The pre-diabetes, can we treat it? Or what do we do to prevent it from getting to full-blown diabetes?
Right. Now, before I answer your question, diabetes has been with the Western world forever. It's new to us. However, the United States, when the declaration was made by WHO, they went a little further. They're not emphasizing on treatment just again, on diagnosis. They're emphasizing on pre-diabetes and diagnosing those who have pre-diabetes. And what does that mean? Meaning, there's those without diabetes. If you take a number, it's called the A1C, hemoglobin A1C, which is what the amount of sugar in your blood looked like for the last 3 months. If you take that, Less, if you have no diabetes, is 5 or less. If you have pre-diabetes, it's 5 or 5.5 to 6.9. So that's pre-diabetes. Now, if you have 7% or above, that's diabetes, with or without symptoms. Now, if you have 7, that's diabetes, until proven otherwise. Plus or minus symptoms. But if you're in this pre-diabetes level, so before, because diabetes is a chronic disease, before you actually go on to becoming diabetic, a lot of people will be pre-diabetic for even 10, 20 years without knowing it. You may not have symptoms. Maybe once in a while you see you have visual problems. You begin to have, I can't read this that I used to read. Then the next thing you go get glasses. If you have that, go check your A1C. You have tingling in your legs. Those are early signs. But you're not peeing, because most people think, oh, if I pee all the time, that means I have diabetes. You may not pee. You could tingle in the legs. You go check your A1C. You find out you're pre-diabetic. If you're a male, you have sexual dysfunction. You may be pre-diabetic, you need to go check. So, and as a matter of fact, I have also been saying that in the United States, and I have every patient who comes to me for the first time, I screen them. I know what their diabetic state is. So I always tell people, if there's anything we're going to learn out of it here today, please, every individual, every Nigerian ought to know their diabetes status. And your diabetes status will determine whether you have no diabetes, you're pre-diabetes, or you're diabetic. Now, if you're pre-diabetic, then lifestyle changes, meaning watching what you eat. Refined sugar, you have to watch that. Exercising, you know, even if it's 2-3 minutes every day, it's a cumulative effect of those exercises that make a whole lot of difference, you know. And then medications. For those who are really very, you know, busy and they're struggling, they have problems, look, you can look for a dietitian who can help you, you know, school you, because that's what they do. They'll school you, teach you the kind of food that is culturally acceptable to you, because everybody do not eat the same, and that's accessible to you. And then for those who can't, the medication metformin, it's an amazing drug. In fact, if you're pre-diabetic, take metformin. You could do, you know, 500 milligram once a day or twice a day, you know, depending on, you know, what there's available or what you can manage. And then take the medication and then follow that up every 3 months. And then see if those numbers, if you're pre-diabetic with a 6.9 or 6.5, you put your metformin or you do the diet, you see those numbers, you check 3 months again, those numbers will begin to creep backwards away from diabetes. And that's people I know who stayed pre-diabetic for 10, 20 years.
Okay, Dr. Leah, let me ask, how often should we go for a check?
Okay.
How often should we do that?
Well, annual physical check once a year. Everybody should have annual physical check once a year. But then if you have problems with high blood pressure, diabetes, then you should follow up at least 3 months, every 3 months, just to check what those numbers look like.
So we have had the pre-diabetic stage, then the diabetic stage itself.
Right. I mean, diabetes affects every tissue in the body, from the brain down to the lower legs. From the brain, you can have strokes, you know, Alzheimer's now, which is a big issue, you know, being assisted with diabetes. Big issue. Big number of people going blind. I speak to an ophthalmologist. He said, listen, I'm tired, you know, of seeing people with diabetic neuropathy. I mean, even dentition. The dentists have issues, you know, with people who have diabetes. And then, you know, if you talk about the heart attacks, blood pressure. You go on to the kidneys, #1 cause of kidney failure in the world is diabetes, followed by hypertension. And then if you have diabetes, it would even increase your risk of developing hypertension. So if you put those two together, we often call it a double whammy. So the risk of your kidney failing is even far more. Now, ulcers, amputations. In fact, one of the most disheartening things I saw recently when I visited one of the tertiary institutions was the number of amputations that were taking place. I mean, it was really disheartening. Those things can be preventable when you know your pre-diabetic state and then, you know, managing it.
Well, quickly, please. I know that for diabetes, there's no age gap. We have diabetes in children, and I truly would like you to speak to this. It's important.
Right. there are various categories of diabetes. There's type 1 diabetes, which is the one where the pancreas, which is the organ that secretes the insulin, completely fails. You know, for one thing or another, maybe genetic predisposition, the pancreas just completely fails. Now, those people really require insulin. Now, it can happen from as low as 3 months to, you know, at any age, but usually for younger people. Now, there's type 2, which is the one that's, you know, fast, you know, growing now. And that's where that's associated with the obesity and the lifestyle and everything else. And then there's a new entity that's coming out. It's called type 1.5. You know, you have type 1, type 2, and type 1.5. And type 1.5 is, you know, medically described as latent autoimmune diabetes of the adult, LADA. And how does that present? It actually presents like a type 2, but then eventually becomes a type 1. So because in people with type 2, it's not because you don't have the pancreas producing insulin. The pancreas produces insulin, but there's insulin, what they call insulin resistance. So the insulin is not getting into your tissue. Now, the beauty of everything the way God created it is for the brain. Thank God, you don't need insulin to get sugar into the brain. But for everything else, you need insulin. But the good thing is, the body, the muscles, take insulin and glucose when you move them. That's why exercising is paramount. I mean, you cannot overemphasize that. So with the type 1.5, it's because there's an immune response. Either because your DNA is exposed to a virus, we don't really know what is causing that, a virus, or even radiations that are coming up. So the pancreas begins to fail slowly, and there's increased resistance as well. So down the road, you begin with type 1, you take medication, they work, after a certain age, they can't work, and then you may now begin to require insulin.
Children. The question she asked on children.
In children, that's the type 1. That you definitely need insulin. How do they present? Most parents may not know it. I mean, once you begin to see abnormal weight loss, that's one of the early presentations. In fact, I remember a case I saw in my training here in Zaria back in the days. One of the early signs, the child was losing weight, and the parents didn't know why. Meanwhile, the child was eating. But they didn't, because it was such a child, it was peeing, and they didn't really know until they paid attention to it. And the child was peeing a lot, losing weight, eating excessively, but losing weight. So, and then if that continues for a while, you see them begin to get very lethargic, very weak. They're not as active as they used to be. And then if it continues, they may even go into coma. And those are early signs and symptoms that you can get. So in children, once you begin to notice some changes, child losing weight when you're eating, peeing a lot, you need to go see your doctor.
Dr. Aluya, I know that most people that are diabetic, you find them having hypertension as well. Is there any link? What was that link? Is it the drugs? What causes the hypertension?
Well, because diabetes, like I said, affects every tissue, including the nerves. Now, the nerves and the vessels. So, with every nerve comes a vessel, and with every vessel comes a nerve. They all go, you know, hand in hand. And even those vessels get their own blood supply. So with people who have diabetes, there's increased risk of cholesterol. Cholesterol, what it does is it lines up the walls of the vessels, and they become thicker and stiffer. So the word is the compliance of the vessel. So for somebody who exercises every day, if you exercise, they're pliable, the compliance. So if you have increased demand from the heart pushes, you know, more blood, the vessels expand, and then, you know, the demand is met. But with diabetes, it actually ages up those vessels, so they become really stiff. So a stiffened vessel, a non-compliant vessel, is a vessel that has a higher risk for hypertension. So they go hand in hand. That's why people with diabetes tend to have hypertension.
Now let's go into other areas. Reading your resume, I'm told that your major research was in sickle cell management and transition in the primary care setting, utilization of antidepressants. What does it all mean?
Well, sickle cell is, I often say it's a black man's disease.
Again, a black man.
Yeah.
It's a black man disease. And unfortunately, historically, if you look back on the genetic description of diseases, sickle cell was actually the first disease that the genetic description was made. It was the first disease that was delineated. But however, from way back in 1901 till now, nothing basically has been done. Why? It's a black man's disease. So nobody, you know, the Western world and everybody don't see any incentive to pursue research in that. And a few who do were actually done by white people. We have issues with resources and all that and all that. And that's why in my institution, I fought hard to see if we can set up a sickle cell clinic where people with sickle cell can come and feel at home and make it a medical home, a 360, you know, healthcare for people with sickle cell, as well as, you know, push the information out there for our people, you know, the African Americans, people of African descent who have sickle cell, to be able to manage it. The disease.
Well, I must say here that Nigeria has something for the world, you know, that is helping to manage sickle cell anemia. And I wonder if you have any information on NIPRID. Maybe I'll give you that information when we leave here.
It'll be of great help.
Yes, actually, there's a medication that, you know, is out there and has been in use for more than a decade.
Professor Wanbebe,
yes,
championed
that. It's called Naproxen.
Right? Okay.
It's called Naproxen, and the institution, it's here in Abuja.
Oh, wow.
It's called NIPRID.
Okay.
And I think you need to visit. Right. And maybe the world is waiting for that, particularly particularly in America, where you have a lot of African descent.
Yes.
On sickle cell anemia. So.
Yes. Nigeria has, you know, by report has the highest number of sickle cell, you know, in the world, and social, political, and even religious, cultural, you know, implications. That affect it. I tell people, you know, I was talking to a young Indian lady and they didn't even know they have sickle cell in India. Indians have sickle cell as well. The Hispanics also have a lot of sickle cell. But again, nobody's paying that much attention to it.
Because it's a black man's disease, right? So, okay, just like malaria.
So let's look at, well, even though I will want you to touch on the issue of prostate cancer and hypertension, then we can now look at the role migration or human trafficking plays in the spread or mitigation of diseases.
Prostate cancer is prevalent. It's prevalent among people of African descent, I must say.
Again, people of African
unfortunately, and with diabetes, once you have that, the chances of you dying is far more. You know, not to digress a little bit, you know, if you take a global perspective of it, if you have diabetes in Africa, you have a 76% chance of dying. In America, it's 38%. In Europe, 24%. In South America, about 48%. In Southeast Asia, about 50%. So, for black people, every disease that is new to us, we have a higher risk of dying. For a couple of reasons. Either one, the epigenetics, because again, our DNA, we do not know what these things are. So we haven't, you know, over the time, metamorphosized enough for us to adapt to those diseases. That's one. Two, we don't have the clinical, you know, financial, technical research and medications to mitigate those diseases. In fact, on an average per month in the US, it takes for you to manage diabetes $313 to manage disease in a month. How much does it take for us here? In 2016, WHO said it was $212 to manage disease per annum in Nigeria. How many people can afford that? Now, if you translate that to prostate cancer, One, awareness is a big issue. Every male who is 40 years of age needs to get screened for prostate cancer. Every male who is 40 years of age needs to get screened for prostate cancer. Because for us, again, it comes in a little earlier. If you find out you have prostate cancer on an early age, you most likely will die from prostate cancer. However, the studies have shown that most men have prostate cancer even towards the end of their life.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you take a percentage of men 80 and above, almost 70 to 80% have prostate cancer, but it's not going to kill them. It remains indolent. But if you have it a little earlier, the chance that it will spread is paramount. So, like we do over there, when Caucasians screen at 50, we screen at 40.
What are some of those symptoms? Maybe you just quickly tell the viewers know what are those symptoms.
First, I'll tell one of the ones that's easier for most people that most men encounter. It's called benign prostatic hypertrophy, BPH.
You need to break it down.
Yes, benign prostatic hypertrophy. It's the prostate. The prostate is a little, organ or tissue right above, at the end of, the urethra. There's a reason why God put it there. So as we grow older as men, it gets enlarged. It hypertrophies. Either because as we grow older, our testosterone that we produce naturally decreases. So innately, somewhere, it's trying to compensate for something. So it actually increases. So one of the early things that men have is, you find out that you try to go pee, usually it just flows. Now you have to wait before it starts flowing. That's the early signs. And then when you pee, it used to go with a force. Now the force is not there anymore. It goes straight, and then when you finish, it's dribbling. You finish, you go, it seems as if, it's not there. You still have to go back. And then you have to wake up multiple times to pee. So those are early signs of prostate enlargement. It's called prostatism. So once you see that as a male, and you haven't checked your PSA level, which is the early screening tool for prostate cancer, your PSA, you need to go get screened. Because would that be prostate cancer? It's possible. But most likely, it may be just benign prostatic hypertrophy, just the enlargement. However, for prostate cancer, a lot of the time you may not know it's there. So for some people we've seen, the first sign they may get is blood in the urine. Any man who sees blood in the urine ought to go check a doctor. And especially if you're 40 years